Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to crumble!
I'm Joshua Kemble, and welcome to Joshua Kemble's Livestream. I've been a freelance illustrator and graphic designer for over 20 years. I was an art director for 9 years. And when I'm not art directing and working on illustrations and graphic designs, I'm working on comic books and graphic novels, and that's usually what I do during my streams. And while conversations can go all over the place on this stream, from spicy and entertaining to goofy and silly, one thing stays consistent throughout every stream. I'll always be working on art. So pull up a chair, get your art supplies out, and get ready for an entertaining show that'll keep you company while you work on your own personal art projects. This is Joshua Kemble's Art Stream. All right, welcome to my live stream episode 425. Everything's set up and good to go. You might notice I finally was able to hang some of my pictures, my studio space, which is pretty cool. So we got like some original. Oh my goodness, now I'm blanking out. I got some original art up here. You might notice some of the artists and stuff like that. I think that's Kevin Huizenga from Curses. That's like an original page by him. Right back here, I got my OG original Kevin Cross monkey mod. I got a painting by my buddy Rick Reese. I got a poster that my father made back when he was the art director at USC for the Scarlet Pimpernel. It's a pretty cool poster that he had designed back in the 70s. And then right here, I got my Derek Kim sketch from a Kickstarter I backed, and then a gig poster and some other fun stuff like my little Nemo and all this stuff. So it feels more like my space, which is kind of exciting. And what's cool is like next year when I'm live streaming, I should be able to live stream while I'm inking at this art table behind me when I start working on 2 stories again. So I'm pretty excited to kind of get set up with a better setup. I got my Dodger gear on. I know I'm not much of a sports guy, but I've gotten really into sports in the last 2 years. When it comes to Landing of the Scarlet Pimpernel was a great film. It was a great film. I love that. The TV movie is unbelievable. They seek him here. But that makes me proud because my dad was, back in the paste up days, a graphic designer. Before I was born, and probably instilled in me a lot of love for art and also honestly like some reality stories of what it is like to be a commercial artist, which is a lot of not getting paid by clients and hunting them down. I think before I was born, my dad said he had a client that he did pizza box covers for, and in lieu of payment, they were just like, you know what, we can't pay you right now, but we'll just hook your family up with like free frozen pizzas for a year. So, so it's like we were dead broke. It's before I was born, right? But it's like my 2 brothers and my 2 sisters, they're all dead broke, like living in a bad apartment. But man, we had free pizza for a year. It's that kind of stuff that I would hear growing up and be like, oh, it's not so glamorous being a commercial artist sometimes. But anyhow, needless to say, I ended up picking commercial art. Now I'm teaching art. So, Jim said, I'm at the cabin waiting for you. Where are you? Yeah, Jim's still in Crestline up there. He's like, where is everybody? Just still partying it up. How's it going, Jim? Yeah, and then I got my Dodger gear on. And what a good day to have Dodger gear on, because we are, okay, if you guys don't follow sports, it doesn't matter. I'll kind of explain why today's game matters. So 2 days ago, we were second in the NL West, which means in our division, right? To San Diego, San Diego has a killer baseball team. So the Padres, right? And we had a really consequential game 2 days ago where we tied, which is good because that gets us, now we were tied for first in the NL West. And then last night, during my live stream. Maybe my live stream is starting to be lucky charm, but last night we beat the Padres 6-0. So that puts us in first, like a solid first. And then today, like probably one of the best first innings I've seen. We literally got two home runs, and we scored four homers, four scores or whatever. Four score and two home runs ago. But the first inning, it was kind of on it. Landon said, "Why do you prefer being a teacher to a commercial artist?" I don't. I am still a commercial artist and a teacher. So I like teaching high school right now because I like teaching, and I got a little burnt out doing the art directing thing. So I like doing commercial art. Like still doing. We're gonna be working on commercial art in a second. Not Death but Love: The Strange Supernatural Story for Elizabeth Barrett Browning, the book I'm doing for Turner Publishing. But I just personally don't like working in house as an art director. Like it was fun for 10 years, but about 10 years in, I was just like, ugh, I gotta find something else. And I think a lot of it had to do with just the sheer like cutthroat commercialism of it. There's no real love of art. And that again, I don't think that goes for everywhere because I have friends who work in some creative industries that just love their day jobs and stuff. But for me, I just wanted to focus on working on comics and then teaching because I get like it feels more meaningful. I don't know if that makes sense. Like it feels meaningful for me to make comics and put cool comics out there, and it feels meaningful for me to make a difference in like students' lives in a tangible way that I know it's weird, but I felt after about 10 years. And again, you got to think tack onto that 10 years about like a total of like 25 years of doing commercial art for a living. Um, it just started feeling like I was filling junk piles with bad ideas. and and rather than do that, I'd rather kind of like put some positive stuff in the universe, like teach some kids how to like express themselves and tell stories. And then comics I still feel a connection to. But only creator owned stuff. I'm not really interested in like comics for hire. And I still do freelance here or there, like if we need the money, or if it's a client that's been really good to me. But at the end of the day, like I enjoy teaching, which is kind of financially not the most rewarding thing. I get about a third to a fourth of what I was making when I was an art director now, but I'm much happier. So it's like I think it's about just kind of doing something you find fulfilling. Um, and I've been surprised by that. Although I'm not too surprised because I did do a bit of teaching at the college level, and I really did enjoy that as well. So so yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, Landon, but that's a good question. And I still do have a passion for commercial art and stuff like that, and good design, good illustration makes me happy. But yeah, at the end of the day, I just really like teaching. Okay, so we got a good day. We got like the Dodgers are way ahead. We'll kind of see if we retain that lead. And this is not a sports show, so we're gonna go on to our daily stream. And here, I just swapped out. Like this is my bad camera. I just wanted to show you guys. This thing, I don't know what's going on. For some reason, the input of it's a 1080p camera, but for some reason the input's been like terrible. So what I did instead is let me turn this thing off. Um, I'm gonna basically swap it out with this guy, which is a much better camera that I have. And it's gonna be at a different angle. But the nice thing about that is if I need to show you guys anything, I can very quickly, hello, how's it going, right? So I can kind of change it to like focus on whatever I need it to focus on. Right here is my mess of a desk. This is my Focusrite. That's what I use to kind of record music through. And then right here, I think this is important to show while I'm working because I like showing people that you can use like a really bad, $50 Wacom tablet. Like you don't need crazy expensive equipment to kind of do work. So let's get into it. The goal here is to color this comic. So there's a couple things I'm gonna do. I'm probably gonna color the key characters, Elizabeth and Sophie, now, and then I'm probably gonna have to pull open other pages that took place on this patio area so that I'm kind of matching some of the colors from that area. One of my key things with color, aside from like setting a mood and setting a tone, I think that my own philosophy on comics is, hey Gary, how's it going? He said, hello all. Hopefully I read that right. So anyhow, one of my goals with color is to kind of set a tone, not only set a tone and a mood, but also help the clarity of the story. And so to me, being really consistent with your palettes is important. It was a long time ago that somebody was talking to me. I think it's in Portland. It might have been my buddy Mike Getziv, who's a really cool cartoonist up in Portland. He does a lot of abstract comics. And you guys should check his stuff out. I think he has a website called Getzivision. And he does, he's most known for doing a comic called Eyeballs, which is little silent eyeballs, like they're abstract strips. Um, and he was in that like abstract comic, that big Fantagraphics abstract comics anthology. He had a bunch of pieces in there. Anyhow, great guy, but really deep thinker about. And I think there was a point where he and I were hanging out in Portland talking about like color and comics, and he was saying that he felt that Charles Schultz was one of the best colorists in comics. And I was like, really? He didn't do like a ton of creative colors and stuff. And he was like, no, but like the thing is, because of the color palette of each character, like you always like at a distance. Nice. Scott just hopped in and said, I was listening to the recording of your last live stream and thought, I wonder if Josh is live now. And sure enough, boom. But anyhow, so Charlie Brown, like the brilliance of the Peanut strips is when you see them, you instantly know who the character is because the costume is consistent. The colors are always very consistent. And so, like, regardless of the scene, where you get creative with colors sometimes, most of the time, a color Peanut strip was literally just clarity. And I really want to highlight that because, like, for me, that's probably my number one biggest concern as a storyteller is clarity. I will take a boring 9-panel grid that's clear and easy to follow over like some complicated, crazy, like dynamic paneling that I can't understand what's happening in the story. So I guess my point is, if it were film, I'm like the un-Michael Bay. Like I don't want to do Michael Bay action sequences that are a lot of spectacle, but you have no idea what's going on because they're cut and people are crossing the line of action. I'd rather have clarity kind of overall. And then once clarity is there, then you can get creative. But I feel like your job as a storyteller is to tell a story. And if you aren't telling that story clearly, you're failing as a cartoonist. That's my own opinion. Um, anyhow, there's also like things like you know Chris Ware, who's like insanely hard to follow comics, but still they're insanely clear. That's like one of the reasons I love Chris Ware's work. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. Anyhow, I'm rambling. Uh, let's get into it. So let's get into some colors. In order to do that, we're gonna pull some of the colors from the previous sequence, where we had Sophie in a previous sequence, and then I think we have another sequence that's relatively recent that had a version of. Let's see if we have it. We need to find one with Elizabeth where we have close-ups so I can kind of pull the color from her. So we're going to start by doing those characters, like coloring those characters. I'm going to borrow those colors from previous panels that I've done. Here's a pretty good one. Okay, here's Sophie. Okay, and this is a previous panel that I've done as well. Landon said, clarity is important, but don't you think the art should be interesting? Also, I've seen art that's very clear, but it's boring. Yes, but and I don't think you should make boring art. I think you should always be trying to make the best pages you can, but never at the sacrifice of clarity. I hope that makes sense. Like, to me, clarity should come first, and that goes for storytelling as well. Like, you know, E.E. Cummings is like a really great poet, right? And he does some really abstract stuff with like punctuation and the way he's writing, and it gets a little confusing, you would think. But when you read an E. E. Cummings poem, it still like flows, and when you read it out loud, it makes sense. It's clear. So even though he's doing something abstract and highly like meta as a writer, even as a poet, he knows that like clarity is key. Like is always key, especially with comics. So again, the art should be interesting as well. Yeah, but like I feel like never at the cost of clarity. Um, unless that's part of the story. Like for instance, let's say you have a confusing dream sequence or something and it's supposed to be kind of startling and jogging. That's good, but I've seen far too many action comics where somebody's trying dynamic paneling and it's like a superhero sequence with a fight and you can't actually tell what's happening in the fight. The page kind of looks cool, but it's like when you're reading it, you're just like, I can't even tell what's going on here. I don't know which panel to go to next. Um, yeah. So anyhow, let's see. Yeah, Gary said I do check out of a book if I'm unsure which panel or dialogue bubble comes next. Yeah. And like Gary said, yeah, if the point is confusion, fine, but otherwise, thumbs down. 100%. Yeah, that's my point. And I do think a lot of the time, um, it's like a more kind of new cartoonist thing to make confusing pages um, that aren't meant to be confusing. Generally, like most veterans of comics, whether they're doing superhero stuff, Sunday strips, or whatever they're doing, generally they're putting clarity at the top of the list. So, yeah, that's something to kind of keep in mind. All right, San Diego's up now. They got a second point, so we got 2-4. So hopefully we keep it up. Come on, Dodgers. Okay. Anyhow, sorry. Okay, we're gonna get into it. Right now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start making my selections to kind of color this page. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I always start by kind of grabbing the let's see here, grabbing the inside of the panels here. Select, modify, expand. And I usually expand by like 2 pixels. So my colors are like about 2 pixels in the center. Like I'm creating what's called trapping for the colors. That way, when it goes to offset print, those CMYK plates can be a little bit off and still look good. Although that's less and less of a requirement these days. It's an old habit, so I always kind of stick with that. And then what I do is lock the transparent pixels. So now I have a big flat area behind where I'm working. And by the way I color on this, I've mentioned this before, it's specific to this comic. Like generally when I'm doing a comic that's more kind of like traditional inks and I'm coloring that, I will be using the magic wand tool a lot more to kind of make my selections because you'll have cleaner kind of aliased lines where if you zoom in, the black line is going to look almost like a little step ladder, which makes it print as like a perfect clean black and white. Whereas this, I'm doing lines that are actually intentionally like kind of smooth on the edges, so they're anti-aliased, and so that means that my approach to coloring this has to be a lot different. Needless to say, if none of that made sense, just understand my approach to coloring this is different. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna start by I'm gonna take off my shading area, and then I'm gonna basically start by just coloring Elizabeth. We'll do that first. And I got to figure out what color I want her dress to be in this sequence. I'm not quite sure yet. Anyhow, so Landon, hopefully that answers your question. It's like I'm not saying panels should be boring. I'm just saying like, you know, get artsy, but also understand like if your point of a comic is to tell a story, right? You want like the story should always come first. Like everything should serve the story. That's my opinion. Which reminds me, I have a bunch of graphic novels I have to read. I have 2 like Monica by Daniel Klaus, and then I have his other one that just came out too. So Daniel Klaus's latest 2 books that I never quite read Those were gifted to me for my birthday, which is like way back in May. At some point, I'm gonna sit down and read a comic, and then I still have all of Keith Foster and Scott Lost books. I think it was at LA Comic Con when I had to go there to do a panel. I just stopped by their booth and literally just bought everything because Keith and Scott Lost are really good friends of mine. So I was like, I always want to read the books my friends do, and so I haven't been able to read most of those books. That's one of the downsides of making comics. I wonder if Gary can kind of second this, but when you're knee deep in a graphic novel, one of the downsides is if if there's reading like that actually requires you to be sitting and like paying attention, it's just like really hard to do when you're doing comics. It's hard to make the time to read. I did record some music this morning and I have the audio track to share. And then my buddy, I think I mentioned this yesterday, but my friend Robbie, who does the mixes, he mainly does the mastering of like my solo stuff, and then he also helps record No Saboteurs stuff quite often, especially like the live drums and stuff when we're doing No Saboteurs. But anyhow, he gave me a pretty awesome master of the third track from my solo album. So I might play that for you guys too if there's interest. In the let me know in the comments section if that's interesting to you. But let's see. Yeah, Gary Landon was saying, yeah, I agree about panels, right? Yeah, like that's the thing. Like I think we've all had times where you read, especially like a new cartoonist, you read their panels and they try to get real creative with the layout, and then suddenly it's hard to tell. Do I go to the like panel on the left or the right? Like I can't even, you know what I mean? Like it's hard to follow. And again, I think the more you kind of do it, the more you just innately start realizing, well, I did that weird thing with the panels before and it didn't quite work. I always recommend for cartoonists to just start with a real simple grid at first and then kind of expand out from there. Like if they want to get creative with it, go for it. Make really dynamic panels. But if you can't make it work with like a 9 panel grid, don't try to make it work with a 9 hexagonal, like whatever crazy grid you want to do. Make sure you can make it work basic before you go crazy. Kind of like with type, right? With typography, when you're learning how to do kerning, it might not be a good idea to like start your journey as a graphic designer kerning beautiful script, right? You might want to start with something like a sans serif font where it's a little easier to kind of measure the spacing. So start with something like a Helvetica or a Futura or something, and then kind of branch your way out to, serif fonts, like a Georgia or something like that, and like learn how to kern with that. And then you can get to those fancy scripts, that are much more complicated to kern. I think it's just kind of same thing like with drawing a human. Like maybe before you do the crazy foreshorten pose, you want to learn how to draw somebody's anatomy regularly, and then you can get into like foreshortening. Um, yeah, Gary said my current backlog is horrendous. I'm hoping to do a lot of reading once I get this book done in November. And he said I try to keep up on friends' books, but pretty much everything else goes in the pile. Yeah, that's my priority. Is the next reading time I have, I want to get in. I want to get deep into Scott Lost and Keith Foster's work, because it's beautiful work. It's just like I need to I also really respect them, so I don't want to like blast through it and be like, yeah, I read it. Like I want to actually really read it. And I think with comics, for me, I like to really, I don't know, maybe I'll sit down tonight or something and try to read 1 or 2 issues. Um, I know for a fact I really want to read Space Minotaur. Um, that just that's just hilarious and amazing. And I know that Keith has like much more serious works that he spent a lot of time on, but I'm so excited about Space Minotaur. Um, okay. So we're in the bottom of the 5th at the Dodger game too, which is pretty exciting. I'm just gonna keep you guys informed on that in hopes that I can get you guys all hooked on baseball as well. um, all right, so we're just flat coloring now. So like what I'm trying to do is like I have Elizabeth. Let me make sure I did select. Yeah, I have Elizabeth's color palette right now. And right now what I'm doing is like I'm basically selecting the flat areas that are going to have that color palette. And then kind of like working reductively because there's not a lot of panels here and they're not crazy complicated. So this kind of can be a quicker way um to color when I can't do the selections. Like I can't just do color selections in the areas with, the magic wand tool and then expand under the line. I have to manually go in there. It's almost like having to cut out paper, but I love the look of it. And the fun part about this process is, um, like when I was doing Jacob's apartment, that's more traditional digital coloring. And so there would be like highlights and rendering and stuff like that I had to do using the flats. Whereas the style that I'm working in now, the flat colors go pretty quick because I'm literally just using completely flat colors and then letting the rendering sit on top of that, so that it kind of looks like a tinted photograph or something. So it's an interesting thing. Um, that brings me to something that I think about a lot with comics. I'm a big fan of, um, for my own art, and this isn't a judgment on other people. I just think, one of my things that I love about working on comics is any comic I do is inevitably going to look like my work because I'm doing it, right? But at the end of the day, the variety of style that I bring to it is going to be really weird and interesting for people, I think. Because I'm not like a one-trick pony when it comes to style of execution. So, I personally, for my own work, I view style as, just like, and I think Scott Serklin's a really similar artist, where the style that he was using for, um, The Young and the Dead is going to be a lot different than the style he's making for his hip hop comic, right? Hip Optimus Prime, because they're two totally different stories. So they kind of the stories call for this style. Um, I love that. Like this book takes place in Victorian England. I wanted a style, whether it's effective or not, the way I'm doing it. The reason I'm doing it the style I am is because I wanted a style that fit the mood of the story. And so for me to just do this in the ink style, my ink line style, that's a little more like Charles Burnsy, has a lot of like feathering. I'd say the style I usually would work with in ink is kind of like it's definitely not equivalent, like it's not as good, but it's like very Daniel Klaus, Charles Burns kind of influenced inks. Um, and and obviously a lot sloppier because I'm not as clean as either of those artists. But in this, I'm doing a totally different, more illustrative style where it's a lot of soft rendering and stuff like that. So it'll still look like my stuff because it still has my drawings in it. But it's just the style itself is always going to be secondary to the story as well. Um, I think that's a great thing to do because I do think story is king, when it comes to comics. Although art should be amazing, like if you're doing comics, try to make the art the best thing you can make the day you make it. You always want it to be visually stunning, but again, I always think story is your number one. Gary said, "Is the video low res for everyone?" Let me see if it's low res. Let me see. I'm checking on YouTube, my own channel here. Let's see if it's doing some weird thing. It shouldn't be. Let's see. I'm trying to find the current one. Live. All right, I'm gonna look at it and hopefully mute it in time. Hold on. I'm checking, guys. I'm checking to see if the video's like buffering or having issues. If so, I'm not quite sure what the solution to that is. Oh wow. Yeah, it looks real bad. That looks really bad on stream. Let me see what's going on with StreamYard. Let's see. Let me try. Let me try this and see if that works. It's weird that it's not doing that anywhere except on YouTube. See if the settings. Oh, okay. That is very strange. Why is it doing this buffering nonsense? That's very strange. Okay, I am definitely seeing what you guys are talking about. I have no idea why that is happening. So what I'm going to do just to try to kind of fix that is I'm going to hop off the channel for a second and then I'll come right back on. So let's see if that fixes it, okay? Did it fix the feed at all, guys? I hope that did, because otherwise I'm not quite sure what the fix is for that. That is just really bizarre that it's doing that buffering in a weird way. It doesn't look like it fixed it. Yeah, Landon was saying nope. Why would that be happening? That is really strange. Wow. That's really strange because, like, for some reason here, it's just like fine. And my internet connection seems to be wonderful. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. That's really strange. General. Is it still doing that here too? Let's see. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to fix this in real time. Yeah, because if this is awful, I might have to like end this and try to make another just because I don't want you guys to have to like look at just, you know, nonsense. Like it's so weird that it looks clear on StreamYard. Maybe I can look up buffering. Hmm. Let's see. Is that better? Let me just keep like trying messing with a couple settings. See if we can fix it live. Yeah, that's not better. Let's see if we can maybe we can fix that. Absolutely insane. I mean, that's like slightly better. Ah, I can't win, guys. I can't win. Yeah, Landon was saying I don't see a change. You need to probably restart the computer and the stream. Oh man, we're gonna have to restart the stream, guys. Oh, that's too bad. It was like it was doing so good too. This might just be my old ancient computer. Because it does seem like it's like lagging and doing like weird just nonsense. Let me see if I can quit out of other stuff. Maybe I just have too many programs open. Let's quit out of. I'm just gonna try a couple other tricks to see if that works. Um, just to kind of like hopefully get a better connection. It's crazy too, because like what's weird is when I look on the screen, are you guys seeing this? The maybe it's my settings on. Is it my settings on OBS? Because like I do see that the chat is looking real good. So let me restart OBS. Let's try that. Okay, I'm gonna quit out of OBS and then we'll see. So you should probably be able to hear me now, but it's probably just a blank screen at this point. And we'll see if OBS, like maybe it's an OBS thing. Okay. Let me see if that works. If not, it might be a computer restart kind of thing. I'm still kind of testing it out, seeing if that works better. Clearer, guys? Anything clearer? I mean, it still looks pretty bad, right? Does it still look pretty bad? Yeah. Yeah, it's still looking pretty bad. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try to keep this stream going, weirdly enough, but I'm gonna go ahead and reboot. And so if you're here, just give it a second. You know what I can do? I think I can do this and have it still play. I'm gonna go ahead and play one of the trailers to keep you guys company, and we'll come back with hopefully a fix after these technical difficulties.
Well, Mr. Stryker, I have you now. There is no escape. You will tell me where the Kemble files are, or you will die beneath the crushing electric arms of my shoptopus.
I hear you chirping, little birdie, but JT Stryker ain't no stool pigeon.
Very well. You have left me no choice. Bring out the doctor. Say hello to Dr. Hodges. I'm sure you're familiar with the doctor and his work.
If by work you mean the murder and torture of innocents, yeah, I'm familiar.
I've waited a long time for this moment, Stryker, and I'm going to enjoy every minute of it.
That's what your mother said.
Well, that's a horrible thing to say. You don't even know my mother.
Don't let him interrupt you. Come on, man.
Look, fellas, we can tango here all night, but it doesn't change a thing. You're never getting the Kemble files.
Oh, I beg to differ, Stryker. I have certain negotiation methods.
Your mom has negotiation methods.
Stop it. That doesn't even make sense. That's not even... It's not applicable.
Listen up, compadres, and listen good. Option 1, I'm giving you 2 bozos and out. You untie me, I walk out of here, and everybody goes home happy. Option 2, I kill everyone in this room and then...
You idiot! You killed him!
I felt triggered. I've been learning to stand up to bullies. I just read 2 stories. Joshua Kemble's raw, introspective graphic novel chronicling mental health, faith, and the struggle for redemption. I also read Jacob's Apartment, a coming-of-age graphic novel about faith, love, and post-college existential drama. They've changed my life choices.
I'm sorry. I had no idea. I too am a fan of the books of the Joshua Kemble. But I'm still going to have to kill you.
Kill me with kindness?
Okay, is this working now? Is this clearer? I hope so. I'm kind of seeing if I think like on it looks like it's still blipped out. That's wild. So it's got to be something with Chrome or like my thing. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, guys, is I'm going to go ahead and end this stream. If you haven't yet, hit the bell so you're getting notifications. And then I will just start a completely new stream that's less crapped out than this one, and hopefully we can kind of get it going. Thank you for speaking up in the chats because I wouldn't have known. But yeah, there is something really weird on my upload speed, which is really bizarre. So let's just see what we can do. I'll be right back, okay, guys? You know what? Maybe I'll restart the computer. Because I want to keep the stream going. I don't want to set up a new stream. So let me try to put on another trailer. I'm so sorry, guys, with that. And then hopefully that we can get it fixed up by the time I'm back. So I'm going to put on another nice long one, Frank's Adventures at the Library, and hopefully I'll be able to restart the computer and get this fixed. Okay, bye.
Our heroic adventurers fought orcs, monsters, sorcerers, necromancers. Now they find themselves in front of a mystical library. What shall they find? It's all in the roll of the dice. We've come this far. There's great power behind this door. I can feel it. We just have to get past it. This door is no match for my axe. I shall chop it down. You always want to use brute strength. Why don't you try knocking? We'll try it your way. You may enter. The library is open to all those who seek knowledge. Feel free to look through our tomes. Maybe you'll find the answers you seek. I sense great power here, and it's behind those shelves. Indeed, there are powerful items hidden behind these shelves, but you can only get there through the enchanted words. Do you have those words? I believe I do.
Tremble before the Krembo.
There is great power. Look at that glove. Must be so powerful. That is not where I sense this power. I must get closer. I found them. I found these sacred manuscripts written by Joshua Kemble. Behold, I now possess 2 stories and Jacob's apartment. Please tell us more about 2 stories and Jacob's apartment, and who is Joshua Kemble? Xeric Award-winning cartoonist Joshua Kemble is a freelance artist, graphic designer, and author. 2 Stories is a confessional graphic memoir that grapples with questions of faith, mental illness, depravity, and ultimately redemption in a fallen world. Jacob's Apartment is a coming-of-age graphic novel in the vein of Ghost Road and Fun Home. It weaves together the threads of spiritual faith, identity, purpose, love, and loss to create an engrossing world in which waking and sleeping dreams collide. You have made your choice. The passage is now closed. Wait, can I get that glove? No. Oh. All right, let's go.
Okay, guys, I'm back. Is this better? Is this better? I have to know if this is working better. Um, oh my goodness, it is better. Okay. I had it pulled up on my phone just to double check. Is this better? I think it's fixed. I think it's fixed. Okay. This is the crappy thing about my old Mac. Now, the only downside is what I have to do is actually like I have to reinstall. Like this happens every time I do my Mac where I have to reinstall well now you guys can see my cool, new studio setup too. With all my pictures up and stuff. I'm sorry guys. It's like you know what? I'm glad you guys bought a new prescription of glasses. Isn't life this is the whole point of that was to give you guys an idea of what life felt like when I finally got my prescription, right? I just now you can see clearly, and that was the whole point of this, not any sort of old computer issues. But I'm glad that it got fixed. That makes me very happy. Hopefully this will be a much higher quality stream. Jim said, "Love the new studio." Yeah, isn't it nice? I think it was. Oh, I think it was kind of attractive when it was blurry, but I feel like having nice high definition is a little bit better. And now I can show you the camera. We haven't pulled up the art yet because I'm opening up all my files, but the camera is better too because this camera was doing some weird, like glitchy stuff, and that's not good. So. So hopefully everything's good. Hopefully the lighting's nice. Hopefully you guys can see things clearly. See my nice Dodgers jersey. I'm going to pull open the game again just to kind of have that score up. And then we're going to kind of meander for a second or two, just so that we don't, completely fuzz out again. Let me get this set up to where we have our art. This should work now. Yeah, you should be seeing art now. Hopefully it's nice and high definition. If it fuzzes out again, just let me know in the chats. But yeah, this should be much better. Now what I have to do is, unfortunately, see my Wacom isn't moving anything on the screen, so now I have to reinstall the Wacom driver. And I don't know why it's been doing that, but like every single time I restart my Mac, I have to reinstall Wacom. That's fun. So if you're out there, Mac and Wacom, thank you guys. That's lovely having to reinstall a driver every time I start a computer. How are you guys doing? It's nice to see you guys clearly. How is life? How is life treating you? Hopefully it's treating you well. Hopefully I'm not glitching out. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to get that. I'm glad somebody spoke up. You guys are such nice, such a nice chat. That I was going for about almost an hour when somebody finally was like, "Hey, is this kind of fuzzy on your screen?" I'm glad that got solved. But I do need to get this Wacom business going. So hopefully that'll happen. While the old computer. While it gets its wheels slowly turning. Okay, so I'm gonna install the Wacom driver. We're going, guys. We're rocking this business. Yes, I would like to install. Put in. And as I speak, like not only were we blurry, but now the game score, like it looks like the Padres scored again. So we have a 4-3, but we're still in the lead. So we'll see how that goes. Oh my goodness, no. Landon said my normal stylus got thrown out by my wife in the trash. I'm told it was my fault. So now I'm using this Chinese thing that has to be installed every time you start the comp. So I feel you, pal. Yeah, it's no complaints. I'm very lucky to have like a machine to kind of do this work on in the first place, but that might be That might be what was going on. So now I know if I'm in a live stream, I gotta restart this sucker. Even if everything's looking like it's running smooth. That's tough. That's not good. Okay, we're gonna get back to work now. Thanks guys for hanging in there. That's sad. We had like a nice full stream, and understandably people were like, I'm out. My Wacom's working now, so that's good. I'm just gonna pull up. I'm gonna pull on up. Okay, we're gonna grab our references again. Hopefully this doesn't, crash out the old beast of a machine. But yeah, now you guys can see the new studio, so I'm glad. I'm kind of glad you spoke up because yeah, it's kind of nice for you guys to see the new setup and stuff. Maybe I'll do like a real quick point to the different art I have up in a second too, just so we can, share collectively the fun of the pictures I have up. I have a lot of meaningful stuff in my studio. Right above me, right here, is my like that poster my dad made for Scarlet Pimpernel. And let's get the picture of Elizabeth open too. Okay. Now we're good to rock, okay? Now we're ready to rock. Are you ready to rock? I'm ready to rock. All right, let's get back to this colors and talking. What are you guys working on, by the way? It's a Sunday, It's always fun to hear what you guys are up to. I know that my hope today is to finish these colors, and then after I'm done with the colors, what I'm planning on doing is setting up the next page. But for this stream, we're just going to rock the colors, rock the Casbah of these colors. Getting Elizabeth's eyes now. It's kind of a weird way to work, I know. Elizabeth's not feeling too hot in these pages. Okay. We're going to get any of the inside mouth colors, get those in there. So like what I was saying about color though, that my friend Mike Getziv was talking about was like with Charles Schultz, like I think why he was such an effective cartoonist, and you guys should really check out Peanuts from like the 1950s. It's like unbelievably cool how good those were. But it's like the whole point was that Schultz like understood that the key to comics is clarity. Like you always knew who the characters were. They were recognizable. They were recognizable silhouettes. So it's like they just anywhere you saw, the first thing you saw, you're like, oh, that's Charlie, that's Linus, that's Lucy. Like you knew all the characters based on their outfits and their hair color and their color palette and everything. I think that's really important. And kind of cool. And Chris Ware does that like on a much more complicated level, but he still does that same thing where it's like these very recognizable characters with like very recognizable, consistent color palettes. Frank King used to do that. A lot of the greats, and I think it's a good rule of thumb when you're working in color. Dave Stewart does that a lot, like with Hellboy too. Like each character kind of has its own very recognizable palette. And again, you can get real complicated with the colors, but I think, again, you want to, again, clarity is really good. Like if your color palette starts confusing people and they're like, wait a minute, which guy is Superman in this fight? Like, unless it's intentional, unless it's a scene where you're like, you want somebody being punched and you don't know if it's Superman or if it's, a different character that's some character from a superhero comic. And you're like, who got punched? And it's like, see next issue. That would make sense. Sweet. Landon said, when I was a kid, that movie kind of freaked me out. Oh, which movie? Because they were chopping off heads and that guy wore a creepy costume. Did I miss which movie you're talking about? You got to remind me which movie, because I might have talked about a movie and then maybe I forgot which one I was talking about. Landon said it's a cool movie. What movie? What movie, Landon? Let me know in the chats. Oh, the Scarlet Pimpernel. Yeah. I think the Scarlet Pimpernel is great. I think that the French Revolution was very bloody, but I do think sometimes when the rich overstep, maybe that kind of thing happens. That's all I'm saying. You know, like sometimes if you look at like where France was at before the revolution, right? The bourgeoisie was like really pushing their luck, you know, and really trying to really repress the people. And if you look at that revolution, it was bloody and horrible. And this is the sad reality of revolutions is quite often, you know, I think their idea was that they were going to kind of end up in this like pure, beautiful, democratic society. And it didn't really bode well for that. It just kind of paved the way for Napoleon to take power and then start taking over the world, you know. But I'm just saying, like, there is a historical lesson there with the revolution, which is like you can't kind of. I mean, I guess maybe some societies can, you know, because there are some really long-standing governments that have really treated their people badly for like long stretches of time. But I do think the lesson of that, you know, is if you put people in a tiny little box and you expect them to be happy, when the people get unhappy, the rulers, you know, guillotines may not be like that far-fetched, is all I'm saying. Does that make sense? Yeah, so you got to treat your people well. And that's actually a good lesson for like, I don't know. There's so many lessons from the French Revolution. I mean, it inspired, you know, the American Revolution. You know, the French were kind of like our brothers in arms. A lot of the writers, you know, you had like Locke and a lot of the writers that were revolutionary writers at the time in France, that inspired the you know, the very American Revolution, right? They were like, yeah, you kind of can't just keep people under your thumb forever. So anyhow, like, I don't know. I just feel like maybe sometimes when, you know, people get real oppressive because they have power, they should kind of keep that revolution in mind, you know? I do. I think it's like, it's kind of crazy to me that people think that, you know, people are just going to kind of roll over. But then again, I don't know. Sometimes people seem to just roll over and kind of deal with oppressive systems and stuff. Gary said he's working on page 44 of Dinosaurs versus Marsbots, number 4, 44. And that's crazy. Yeah, I was gonna say, but Gary beat me to the punch. He said, yeah, like for magical thinkers out there, it's 444, right? I don't know. Does 4 have a lot of magical number significance? I feel like the numbers that are in Magic are usually like, I don't know, biblical numbers. Like it's usually like 6s and 7s and 3s. But I don't know. You know, I'm not a magical number guy, so what do I freaking know? Anyhow, magical numbers are cool. All right. We're going to kind of, I realized I made a sequential mistake, so I'm going to fix that mistake as best I can here without losing my selection. That's me in the corner, losing my selection. 90s throwbacks all day, every day, guys. So I was thinking about 90s. Okay, we're going to talk 90s a little bit, guys. I was thinking about the 90s the other day because Billy Corgan has a podcast that's actually pretty good, where he'll like interview other artists and stuff like that. Um, Now, full disclosure, I was not a giant Smashing Pumpkins fan. I do remember though, like when Gish came out, like they had an album called Gish, and it was like pretty amazing. Like it did sound very unique at the time. It was kind of like, from what I recall, I think it was like before Nirvana really broke, or it was about the same year that Nirvana broke, but like it did set like a tone and was very influential for like the whole kind of like grunge sound and movement. But that being said, there's something about Billy Corgan's voice. And this is gonna piss off people who are like hardcore Smashing Pumpkins fans, but I've never I feel about Billy Corgan's voice very similar to how I feel about like Anthony Kiedis's voice. Like I'm not a big Kiedis guy. Like I feel like the band, even Billy Corgan as a musician, was a really good guitarist and stuff. And I'm a guy who, like, dude, I'll play you guys some stuff I've recorded recently. I don't have a great voice, you know? But there was something about his voice that just pulled me out of it. But I did like some Smashing Pumpkins stuff back in the day. Anyhow, I was listening to his podcast, though, and it's actually pretty good. And he interviews like a variety of really interesting people, even some people who are just like you wouldn't think he'd interview, and you know, I think one of them was my goodness, the child actor who's like got like guitar, like plays guitar very badly, Corey Feldman. But he'll have like guests on and stuff. And really interesting conversations. But what it got me thinking about was all the movement that was happening in the 90s, and like the musical movement and stuff. And it got me thinking about like current music in comparison. And I was like, what is the equivalent to like grunge now? Like, what's the next movement? Like, is there a next movement of music that I like missed? I know there was like new metal, which I wouldn't put on like the same hierarchy of like a significant, you know, music movement. I feel like new metal wasn't, that was like a blip on the map or something. I don't, if you're new, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to like trash it. It's just like I don't feel like there's been like a big shift in the music landscape that was like as impactful, even with hip hop, right? Like I feel like there were these movements of hip hop, and then the 90s it kind of peaked, and then you had maybe some really amazing stuff in kind of happening a little bit towards like the early 2000s, but I feel like nothing in the last like 20, I might just be disconnected. Like that's a thing. I might just be old and disconnected, but I feel like there's no like giant like mass shifts going on in the landscape. Landon said there's no movement, everything's fractured now. That might be it. That might be, maybe it's a positive thing. Like maybe instead of like giant earthquakes, we're having little rumbles all over the place in different like subsects, you know, because everybody kind of has their own outlet. But it is interesting to me to like think back where there was like a conscious movement, like a sound that was new, that was kind of like integrating all sorts of stuff. Like I think that was one of the first times where people started integrating like metal with punk and with rock, and they were kind of putting it all in a blender and like coming up with this completely new sound. I don't know, it's just interesting to me that I don't see a lot of the I don't see a lot of new movements. I guess there is kind of the emo thing that happened in the early 2000s, which I guess would be a pretty significant movement. But I feel like after that, like, has there been anything like new? It's just, it's interesting. Or are we just kind of like in a fractured area of recycling a lot of old? While I'm doing this, what I'm going to do is, because we've been going for an hour, I want to reward you guys for being here. By playing the master. So yesterday, if you were listening to the stream, my buddy Robbie sent me a master of the third song for my solo album, and I couldn't play it for you guys because it's in a wave format, and StreamYard does not do wave formats. So I had to convert it to an MP3 to be able to play it here. But guess what I did before this stream? I converted the master of song number 3 for my next solo album to an MP3 so I can play it for you guys. I also exported the music only, because I haven't tracked vocals or anything. But the music only for track number 4, so you can hear what I was messing with this morning before I started down the path of the crazy, chaotic world that is comics. I'm gonna do Elizabeth's dress now, and I kind of want to think about another color. So here's what I like to do with color when I'm flatting and I'm coming up with a new color. I like to use hue saturation to slide the colors around without changing the saturation or the lightness. Just to kind of look at colors that are within the same kind of tone, but like a different color. So I mess with the hue first just to kind of see, are any of these what I want? And I'm thinking that maybe I'll have her doing one of her like dark gothic brown shirts, but don't be too close in value to her hair. So once I kind of find it, then I'll kind of mess with like the lightness and the saturation a little bit to kind of, you know, especially if I'm doing a brown shade or something. Elizabeth wore a lot of brown, but I also don't want to do the mistake that a lot of people make with Victorian era stuff, where sometimes people will assume because it was back in the day, everything was very quiet in color. So I'm going to kind of see what I can do here with that. Let me look at, let's see, Victorian dresses. I'm just going to look online right now just for like ideas of colors. Just so I'm not like stuck in like the same color ballpark every time. Right now, actually what I'll do is I'm going to actually save this color as magenta. So I have that selection. So I can deselect. Don't worry, that's not going to be the final color. And that'll be like a placeholder while I pull in some color inspirations. Okay, here we go. This is a really good inspiration for the theme of the colors I wanted right now. So here is some examples from like an illustration. So I think I will do that yellow. I think I'll have Elizabeth in a yellow dress instead, because it's going to stand out against the background a little bit better. Jim said, I'm looking forward to the Not Death But Love action figures. I don't think they're going to make action figures. Who knows? Who knows? But it's not really an action story. But that would be cool. I don't know if you saw it, Jim, but they did, Dave Baker made some, like, had an indie toy company make Halloween Boy figures. Like, he has this indie comic he's doing called Halloween Boy that he's self-publishing. And an indie toy maker, like, was like, hey, can I make a Halloween Boy figure? And they're, like, fully articulated, like, amazing figures. Like, yeah. So go Dave, you know? All right, here we go. Our hue, gonna kind of move it this way. You guys tell me in the chats if you guys want me to keep chatting, that's fine. I have a ton to talk about. I talk too much. That's a strength and a curse. So I have plenty to talk about. But if you guys want me to play, tell me if you want me to play the master or the music. I guess I'll say in chat, type 1 if you want me to play the master that I got last night of the third song. So type 1 for that, and type 2 if you want me to play the music that I heard, that I recorded this morning. Landon's going for the master. Jim said, I had asked earlier if you were into Looney Tunes. Who's your favorite? I really like Looney Tunes. I have a couple favorites. My favorite for just the animation alone is easily the Roadrunner cartoons. I think that the backgrounds in that and just the silent storytelling is very sophisticated. I absolutely love that. I also am a sucker for like some of the planets with where it's like Elmer Fudd hunting Bugs Bunny. And I'm talking like the old school ones when Bugs looked like much more kind of bug-eyed. Like he looked a little more like round in the very old cartoons. But those ones, the ones where he'd like wear a dress and like I don't know, they're very funny situational ones. Yeah, Looney Tunes, I mean, Daffy Duck was always very funny. Like I like a lot of the classic Looney Tunes. The orchestra ones are amazing. Yeah, there's a lot of just the thing I like the most in Looney Tunes though, is I think the background art when I'm trying to remember the guy's name. It's like Chuck something. What was his name? Jim will remember. Um oh my gosh, I'm blanking out on his name. He's like one of the best cartoon background artists of all time. Um and I think it's Chuck. Chuck Jones, thank you. Yeah, Chuck Jones era Looney Tunes are like that's my jam. Like they're just so well directed, and again, to me the thing that I love the most in those Looney Tunes is definitely going to be like the just the background art is unbelievable. Like there were like these episodes where like they'd be in space, and I really like those a lot. The castle episodes are always a classic. Yeah, Chuck Jones. Everybody in chat was like Chuck Jones. Like I angered a bunch of cartoonists. But yeah, I like classic Looney Tunes. I will say like there's something to be said for they're great cartoons, they're amazing cartoonists, but I do think there is something to be said for what Disney was doing in contrast because you know, Disney had a lot of the kind of they had a lot of the similar kind of approaches to like anthropomorphic characters. Um it was a very similar approach where they would kind of have like a human body and then like an animal's head, but they'd have like, you know, the rubber hose kind of thing going on. But the thing I think Disney kind of clued into that's so amazing for the time was the ability to have things like 101 Dalmatians or something where you have actually got like dogs in the story that look like they aren't just like weird Looney Tune or early Mickey Mouse cartoon type dogs. They're like straight up like a dog using the anatomy a dog has to act anthropomorphically. I think that's a lot more sophisticated than what any cartoonists were doing at the time. And I think that's pretty amazing when cartoonists can do that, where they can take, you know, like you see it in Fantasia too, where it's like you have elephants doing ballet, but they're actual elephants. Like it's using the elephant's bones and muscles, and it's like if an elephant was literally doing ballet, like how would an elephant actually do that? But yeah, there's also I have a real love for like Squash and Stretch, old school cartoons and stuff. And I definitely think Chuck Jones was like onto something, just brilliant with like his pacing. And again, probably because I'm a big Crazy Cat fan, those Roadrunner cartoons are just like the background art is some of the most stunning, just amazing background art ever done. And again, just telling a story like that in like completely silent with no dialogue, I think is really hard to do. Um, in fact, I don't know, like I tried doing a silent comic once or twice in my life. I did one that was called The Park that ended up being in kind of a literary journal. And that's on my website too, but it's like a silent strip of like, I think 99 panels, or it's not 99 panels, but it's a lot of panels. And it's a completely silent story kind of the life and death of a couple that's told in Central Park. Um, but yeah, just to do like a slapstick story that like works without dialogue is a feat that I think is really, I think until you try to do it, you don't, you know, I think animators know how hard that is, but um, yeah, it's just incredible work. So yeah. What about you guys? Who's your favorite Looney Tune character? I will say this, when I was a kid and to this day, uh, I always, I don't know if this is like the contrarian in me, but I always hated Tweety Bird. Like, I absolutely feel like Sylvester should have eaten Tweety Bird. Um, like, I wanted to see Sylvester win really bad for him. Because, like, Tweety was just a jerk. Like, he was a mean, you know, it's kind of like Tom and Jerry, too. I always want the cat to win. Like, I feel bad for that poor cat just being tortured by this, you know, guy who has no respect for the house. And I felt like, but, oh, that's another favorite character, though. I really liked the old lady, who would, like, bash Sylvester on the head and be like, Masha! Like, I always thought that was hilarious. I still do to this day. And then of course I forgot, there's the great ones with Pepe Le Pew. The Pepe Le Pew ones are unbelievably hilarious. I think probably don't stand up as much nowadays cuz you know, if you guys watch like old Mickey Mouse cartoons, you're going to see this too. Like old cartoons kind of like highlight some of the issues with like relationships back then. Because it's like in those cartoons, like the guys get real creepy. Like, you know, there's a Mickey Mouse cartoon that I love. It's an old silent one. And I'm gonna forget the name of it, but it's like Mickey's working construction. He's like a construction worker, and then Minnie Mouse is like down, like serving like pies and hot dogs to like this. Like she's basically, you know, trying to serve hot lunches to these wild um construction workers. And Mickey is just relentlessly like harassing Minnie like over and over again. Like he tries to look up her skirt, like it's really bad. And like and then like the only reason Mickey kind of comes out as like not being creepy in the end is like then Peg Leg Pete comes in and he's even creepier, and so she has to like rely on Mickey to save her from like Peg Leg Pete, who's like a complete like almost like a sex pest, you know? Anyhow, in retrospect, I'm just saying like there's a couple cartoons like Pepe Le Pew, great cartoons, but holy crap. Like, you know, it makes me feel really bad for women in that era where it's like this was a kid's cartoon, like where it's just this poor girl just being relentlessly like harassed by a man. Like it kind of it puts things into perspective for me watching some of those old cartoons because I love them. I think they're great, and I'm not trying to be all like woke or anything with it, but it's like it definitely puts things into perspective because watching it now with the lens that I have now of like how you should treat, you know, like a lady or something like that. And you watch those old cartoons and you're like, wow, times have changed a lot, you know, like in a probably a good way. um Oh, is there a? I haven't seen the Robin Hood Bugs Bunny. There's a Sheriff of Nottingham character. I don't even remember that one. Oh wait, I do. Cause wasn't? Am I crazy? Was Daffy? Was it Daffy Duck who had the? No, I think it was Bugs who dressed as. Yeah, who played Sheriff of Nottingham? Dylan said, I have a theory that the reason why a lot of boomers are the way they are, besides lead paint, is their cartoons. Dylan also said, and I pop in when he's slandering Tweety Bird. Tweety was a little turd, okay? I'm just saying. That bird, like, I'm just saying, like, Sylvester was a good cat, just trying to do his cat-like things. And, you know what else? Another one, have you ever watched these are some of my favorite classic cartoons too. If you watch classic Disney cartoons, there's like those Christmas specials where basically like Chip and Dale are literally torturing. They're pretty much just torturing Donald Duck. And those are cartoons too where like Donald Duck is hilarious. Like I love characters like that. I feel like that's like the precursor to Curb Your Enthusiasm is like those Christmas episodes where Donald Duck just gradually gets more and more pissed until he just loses his mind. There's that kind of humor. I'm trying to think of other characters that are similar. Like I feel like in Sesame Street, Ernie is that character, not Ernie, Bert. Bert is that character where Bert's whole function is to be kind of patient and slow and kind of gradually get more and more pissed until he finally explodes and you get to have, you know, that beautiful Frank Oz voice acting, you know, where he just loses it. And half the funniness, like why I think Bert is such a good character, you know, he's a fun character to watch. It's that he just has like complete anger management issues and it's funny to watch him get mad. And I will tell you, classic Donald Duck, there's nothing funnier than watching Donald get all psychotic and schemy against a bunch of ants at a picnic and then eventually just lose his mind. But I will Chip and Dale. Again, I feel like Chip and Dale were messing up this poor, like his, you know, Donald Duck is just setting things up, trying to have a nice Christmas, and freaking Chip and Dale are little terrorists. and, and and Donald was completely justified to lose his mind. I feel that way. I don't know what Tom and Jerry used to bug me like that too, where I was like, you know, and I think that's why Crazy Cat, I mean, it's all like the Crazy Cat gimmick, right? Where you have Ignatz, this mouse, who's just beaming this poor cat, Crazy Cat, on the head with a brick. And he's kind of a horrible, like, Crazy Cat is a sweet little kitten, and he's being terrorized by this mouse. And Officer Pup knows what's going on and is trying to put a stop to it, you know. Man, I try not to talk politics on this show, but I'm just saying, like, sometimes the bad guy is Ignatz, okay? Sometimes the bad guy is Tweety, okay? Hot takes here. Hot takes on my channel. The Kremlin, we do hardcore takes, okay? It is funny though, as a kid, it just bugged me. So, like, Tweety especially just bugged me a lot because I felt like maybe if I rewatch them, I'll be wrong. But I always felt like Tweety was just really messing. He would just do really mean, like, cruel things to Sylvester. Okay, we got Dylan saying I have a. He said Elmo getting upset about Rocco is extremely funny. I don't know if I've seen which one was Rocco. With the fish, because Elmo's a little bit like, you got to understand, my generation, Elmo just, like, my son loved Elmo, right? But like for my generation, Elmo wasn't really around. So Elmo to me always struck me as like a Red Grover. Like he just seemed like it was like a rebranded Grover that wasn't around when I was a kid. Elmo to me feels like if I had a family that went to a divorce through a divorce or something, and that's like the new girlfriend or boyfriend that comes to the house, and they're like, "Hey, son, you're familiar with me." That's how I feel about Elmo. I feel like Elmo kind of comes on. Don't get me wrong, I softened to Elmo because my kid really liked Elmo's World as a kid, so I was like, "Okay, my son likes it. I'll deal with it." But up until my son was like at the age where he could watch it and really liked Elmo, before that I would see Elmo and I would just shudder. Like it just felt wrong. It felt like blasphemy. I was like, you are just a Red Grover with a more annoying voice. I'm doing hot takes on children's cartoons, guys. Okay. Who's your favorite? I want to hear in the chats. Who's everybody's favorite Looney Tune? I want to check out the Sheriff of Nottingham now. I'm trying to remember what the Sheriff of Nottingham in the Looney Tunes is. But yeah, Looney Tunes was great. I will tell you though, like, man, I took this class a long time ago called The History of Comedy. That was a very popular class because all you had to do was like read really funny books and watch a bunch of classic like humor things. And they went over all sorts of stuff, you know. And it started with the Decameron. I hear there's like a show on Netflix now that's based on the Decameron. I'd be interested in seeing it because I had to read that, and that is a saucy book. So I'd imagine that TV show is probably pretty saucy. But I saw that they have something on Netflix now. But anyhow, we went through a bunch of like classic comedy type stuff. But at one point they were talking about comedy kind of changing based on the eras. And they played us a bunch of Disney and Looney Tunes cartoons that are like the banned Disney and Looney Tunes cartoons. They're like the cartoons that are in the vault that like Disney and Looney Tunes wants to pretend they never made because they're so inappropriate. And there are some cartoons from like World War II where it's like, dude, like Bugs Bunny like just starts murdering people. It's crazy. And like they're super racist and like insane cartoons. That kind of changed my opinion of Bugs Bunny a little bit. Because they get like bad, like just like off, like hideous cartoons, like where you're just like, and they're just dancing around, just being like horrendously violent, just murdering like these racist caricatures. It's really weird. But they do exist if you're ever curious to go down a rabbit hole of of Looney Tunes and Disney. Oh, nice. Landon was saying the coyote always reminded me of myself. Yeah, I know a lot of people like see the weird thing is for some reason I never felt the sympathy for Wile E. Coyote that I did for like Sylvester with Tweety. Um you know cuz he was trying to eat him. Like he was never you know, I don't know. I feel like a lot of the Tweety ones it's like Sylvester wasn't even trying to eat Tweety. In fact, I think there were a couple specific episodes where like Tweety would like hop in Sylvester's mouth to get him in trouble and be like, see, he was trying to eat me. Like, but I feel like with at least with the Roadrunner, like, you know, the Wile E. Coyote was literally like trying to, you know, eat the Roadrunner. Like that was his like his goal was to like eat the Roadrunner. So you kind of felt a little like when it I don't know. Anyhow. But yeah, Wile E. Coyote is amazing. I love those bits, the classic bits in the Roadrunner where they like paint the oh no, Dodgers are tied. It's tied. We had a lead and now it's tied. Okay, well that's okay. But yeah, I do really like a lot of those old cartoons. I think there's something beautiful about those classic cartoons. And the weird thing is when you see like the Chuck Jones era, just the like quality control of the animation is unbelievable for like hand done animation. It's so good and so smooth. And then you can kind of see it decline. Like a lot of the cartoons I watched as a kid, like I really liked Darkwing Duck. That was my jam back in the day. Um, Darkwing Duck was just epic in my mind as a kid. But when I've rewatched episodes of Darkwing Duck, because I think a family member or something got me like the collected series of Darkwing Duck, and I rewatch it, and it's like the animation, just the quality. I think because of the time frames that they had to pump these things out, like the quality is just really not great for the animation compared to like the level of quality that you had in that era of like Looney Tunes, or those like Disney specials. I think my favorite like 50s, late 40s, early 50s Disney stuff is like the Goofy episodes where it'd be like Goofy goes to the Olympics or like Goofy goes camping. Because I think Goofy is probably in the color era, um, the color era of animation for Disney. I feel like those Goofy cartoons are just they're amazing. Where they have the announcer, telling him how to ski and stuff like that. It's like slapstick humor at its peak. But but I do kind of feel like you can see a decline. Like as much as nostalgically, I still to this day really love Darkwing Duck. It's like the animation just wasn't quite at that level. I do feel like Animaniacs kind of brought back a lot of classic cartooning considerations. Um, but I do know like Tiny Toons, like I like one of my favorite movies as a kid was Tiny Toons How I Spent My Summer Vacation, which I will say you guys should watch. It's amazing. But even Tiny Toons, there were just real inconsistencies with the animation where, there'd be like frames where they forgot to color, like so you'd have like character frames because they were having it colored overseas. Like it just the quality control wasn't as consistent. Um, but yeah, there's something just beautiful about that era of animation where it was like the peak like animators at their peak when like animation was like at its A game. Um yeah, anyhow, I'm rambling. Dylan said Landon said I had the same Darkwing experience. Yeah, I still to this day like I kind of like it and the voice acting's great and it's still pretty fun. I still have a soft spot for it cuz I'm like, I'm nostalgic about it. Like it was a big part of my childhood. I remember saving up box tops of cereal just to get like Darkwing Duck characters, like cuz they had a giveaway for like these, I think they're like in a really bad, cheap injection molded, version of each Darkwing Duck character. But I literally, saved box tops to get every single Darkwing Duck character because I love them so much. But yeah, it just doesn't hold up like visually as much as in my head it did when I was a kid. Which is a testament to like, when we were kids, it's like the Batman the Animated Series was like a game changer, like in all kinds of ways. And one of them was the animation, because I don't know if you go back and you watch those first few episodes of Batman the Animated Series, they hold up. Like the animation is just unbelievable. Um, and it's like I remember as a kid being kind of stunned by that because we just got so used to animation that wasn't that great. Guys, let's see. Okay, it looks like Mookie Betts homered. And so we are at 5-4 in the bottom of the 8th. Which isn't too bad. It's not the greatest lead, right? But we're in the lead by 1. And by we I mean LA, obviously. Um, I had this idea. My wife and I, when we were first dating, we uh we went to Catalina with a bunch of friends, like Catalina Island. And during our trip, we were coming up with this idea for a children's book. And one of the characters from the children's book was going to be called Obvious Otter. And we had this idea that he would just show up periodically in the book when somebody said something obvious and just be like, "Well, obviously," and then just disappear. I still love that idea. I don't know what made me think of that, but I think it's because I said something obvious, and then I thought, well, obviously, because we were like, he'd be an otter that had like a monocle, you know, and he just shows up and he's like, well I dare say that's obviously, and then he'd just disappear, and they'd be like, who's that? Oh, that's Obvious Otter. We had a whole string of characters for it that, you know, had alliteration in their names, but Dylan said, I love seeing Looney Tunes gag references, especially the painted wall. Looks like a road and a character uses it. Dude, that you got to remember those bits, man. Like the one of my favorite bits too was like when they'd make the just a hole, like a big black dot, and then they could just chuck the dot anywhere and it became like a tunnel or a hole. Yeah, there's so many good visual gags. There's that amazing. Do you remember the amazing one with Daffy Duck where he's like walking and he starts kind of like talking trash to the animator, but then the animator will like erase his mouth and then like redraw it backwards. And it's like it's just so many visual bits that were just so creative. It's cool that that existed, you know. Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think of you know, the history of animation and how cool that is. I feel like I might be out of touch with like modern animation. Like it if you guys picked like if you're watching, you know, and you had to pick like, you know, a like a stellar example of animation, you know, today, like what would you put up there? And I'm not try not to say anything that's CG. We're talking hand done animation. The last thing I saw that was like hand done animation that like blew my mind was this company that, and I can't remember the animators, but they did a movie called The Triplets of Belleville. And it's like it is just it's its own thing. Like there's no other animation you could confuse it with. But it just has such sophisticated like animation and character design and again it does that really hard thing to do where the entire story is completely silent. Like there's music but none of the characters talk. um and then I feel like that same company did one of my favorite animated movies of like recent times, although I guess it's not so recent anymore. It's probably like 10 years 15 years old at this point. But there was one they made called The Illusionist about a magician, and it's like the in-betweens and the animation in it are just like lovely. Like it's just a beautiful movie. That one's about a magician, and it's like it's not the movie The Illusionist. Like there's a movie called The Illusionist that was about magicians, and it had live actors, but there's the cartoon The Illusionist, and it's just like again it's told like completely silent. There's no dialogue, and it's just absolutely beautiful. It's like one of the most beautiful animations I've seen recently. But for like hand done animation stuff, I would say right now, I mean, you got Jim Luhan, and then I'm trying to think of anything else. Yeah, Dylan said Jim Luhan. That's what I'm saying. Jim Luhan is the greatest living animator of our time. I do actually think Jim is one of the most talented animators around. But I'm trying to think of like a big giant studio thing that. Oh, okay. You know what? I was shortchanging something. Okay, there's two really good examples. I think that SpongeBob SquarePants is amazing. I think it is phenomenal. Like um I love SpongeBob SquarePants. I think that is a great cartoon. I think the animations are amazing. I think the background art is fantastic and the writing in that is so sharp. Like I can as an adult watch SpongeBob SquarePants and enjoy it like thoroughly. And yet also it's safe. Like I can show it to my kids. It's not like crazy inappropriate. But it's such a well done cartoon. Like I really cannot sing the praises of that enough. Um, that is just an incredible cartoon. It's just amazing. The animation's so good in it. And then I'm trying to think of another current one. Oh yeah, Adventure Time. I remember back in the day, like Adult Swim used to have, like Cartoon Network used to have like these little trial shorts. Like they'd hire like an indie animator to do just like a little tiny short cartoon. And there was a short cartoon that they'd play, and I think they played it because it got big on YouTube, but it was the first Adventure Time. And I think it was a story with like the Ice King. And it was like a stunning short animation. So it went viral, and then I think from that it got developed into a show. Adventure Time's great. I love it. So I'm trying to think of like contemporary stuff. And then I would say on Netflix right now, probably the best animated thing I've seen that fits my aesthetics is the Cuphead show. It's based on the video game, but it's like such a good show, and it doesn't feel like it's trying to be um um Dylan said, yeah, the illusionist, I thought it was okay. And you got to remember the animated illusionist, not the illusionist, the live action. Um but yeah, I feel like the Cuphead show is amazing, and the thing I love about the Cuphead show is it doesn't feel like it's faking being like Squash and Stretch, like Rubber Hose, Love Letter. It feels like so authentic. Like it's like it's hard to explain, but it's kind of like the you know when you watch something that's like a throwback, or it's kind of like almost like watching like a B movie that's trying to be a B movie. It's like less charming. I don't know what it is about the Cuphead show, but it manages to not feel referential at all. Like it doesn't feel retro. It feels just like completely authentic. Like you can tell the creator like lives and breathes the era of cartooning that it's referencing. But yeah, the Cuphead show is amazing. If you guys haven't seen it, obviously it's not an indie cartoon, but definitely check out the Cuphead show. And I will throw in there, if you guys haven't seen indie animation, particularly the animations that Jim Lujan is doing, I think you're doing yourself a disservice, because I do think Jim Lujan, I sincerely think this, if I thought this before we were friends, and I think it, still now, but like, yeah, Jim Lujan is doing amazing, incredible stuff. Like that's just complete creator vision animation with its own unique, amazing kind of brand of storytelling. So that's my little rant on animations. Dylan said, I have the Art of Cuphead book. Yeah, it's a book I'd like to own. I think it's kind of pricey. Am I crazy, or is it like cheap now? I don't know. I remember looking at it and being like, whew, I want to get that, but it's very expensive. Um, but yeah, like it is a really interesting time for animation. I was gonna say it feels like animation's kind of lost its way, but now that I think about it, we're kind of in like a golden age of animation where it's kind of like the music thing where I was saying like what's the next like grunge or emo, like the next movement in music that's like a generation defining kind of sound. Um and then it dawns on me, like, in chats, it was very rightly said, hey, it nothing big is happening. It's all splintered. And I kind of feel like maybe that's what's happening with animation, where you just have a lot of really good stuff out there that's just scattered, and you have so many outlets where people can, make their creative vision. People can make animations now easier than they ever could. And so we probably are at like a golden era of animation where it's like almost limitless options of great animation. But I feel like the big studio house stuff, Cuphead would be one. I think there's a big studio involved in that. But I think the era of like, like Looney Tunes or like classic, like, Disney, um, it's gonna be harder and harder to find stuff that's like that studio level, just perfection of like a Chuck Jones cartoon. Oh, Dylan said he got it on sale for like $20. That's cool because it is expensive. He said it is expensive, so. Yeah, and my problem is like I mean Gary and I were both talking about this, but it's like I have a big backlog of art books and um, novels and graphic novels that I have to read. And my priority are my friends' ones first, right? I want to read the ones that my friends put out before I venture into ones of just artists I'm a fan of outside of friendships. But like yeah, I have a big backlog, so a pile of books. Because I've been doing a book. I think that'll be the first thing I do when I finish this book is like read like 10 graphic novels. Just chill and read 10 graphic novels. Well, this is going a while longer than I was expecting. Hey guys, the Dodgers won. We won. I believe. Yes, we won. We won 5-4. That's the third game. So if you're a San Diego fan, my apologies to you out there, but that's good news for us because we gotta get in there. Got to get into the final spots. All right. All right, we're getting there. So I almost have done the flats for Elizabeth and Sophie. I finished Elizabeth's. Now I'm doing Sophie's. And then what I'm going to do is we'll probably do the dinner tray. And then I'm going to have to pull up other panels that take place in this same sequence. Let me know, too, if you guys are watching this. Is it getting, like, fuzzy at all or weird? Yeah, who's the artist who does the Cuphead show? Like, I know there's, like, a visionary who kind of came up with it. And it's just so fun. I also haven't watched any anime in a long time. So I'm sure there's a lot of really good anime out there that I just haven't seen, because I do feel like that's kind of a big genre right now. Oh, I forgot to mention, of course, like I was really big on Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like, that series was just phenomenal for like an animated show. That was a incredible show. And I liked The Legend of Korra a lot too. I feel like those two things were just incredible cartoons. Very good storytelling, good character art, all of that stuff. um I like that. Dylan said her hand looks like the lady in Yellow's fart cloud since everything else is red. Yeah, funny things will happen when you're coloring. I was a really big fan of the X-Men animated series, as pretty much everyone in my generation was. You know, the one on Fox with the banana now now. Um, and I did watch one or two of the ones on Disney that were like kind of rebranding and kind of, I think it was called like X-Men 1990 or so. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like it's basically like a rehash of the original you know, cartoon X-Men that was so popular when I was a kid. And I remember watching it and being like, this is great. Like it's so authentic to like what the original cartoon was, but also kind of realizing I might have aged out. I might have aged out of the original cartoon because I was like, it's very authentic to it, but like kind of reminds me that that wasn't the best cartoon. I mean, it was the best when I was a kid. It was like the coolest thing to come home to see because the timing of it was great too. They used to play it, and from what I recall, it was like it was running when I was in junior high, I think, and it literally would be on like the second I got home from school. Am I wrong about that with the X-Men? X-Men, the Fox one was like on right after school. Like you'd have like Gargoyles and X-Men and then Batman. Yeah, so the timing was just incredible because I remember, you know, getting home from school and you'd have like, yeah, I get to watch, you know, Wolverine, you know, like be awesome and watch the X-Men. And I got really invested in the storyline and stuff. Um, but in retrospect, like I've seen episodes of the original X-Men and I'm like, it's not as, it's like in my head, it was a lot cooler than it is. I don't know if that makes sense. Corey said two brothers, Chad and Jared Moldenhauer, started Cuphead. Jake Clark came in later to help with the animation. At one point, they mortgaged their homes to continue to fund it. It is so good. Cuphead is just all sorts of awesome. All right, guys, we have done our bit there. I'm gonna go ahead and make the rest of this magenta. Let's look what it looks like when I add my my shading here. Okay. We're going to eventually get there, guys. So now I just have to do all the flats for everything else. So I'm going to try to pull up one of these. I'm probably going to play a video and get some water. But before I pull up a video, let's find previous ones that take place on this. I have to look through my pages and find pages that take place on the patio. So I'm going to be scrolling through those and kind of trying to find them. RSC Art said, I like that clunky 90s animation. I think it looked good. I just think it was a little slower paced than... It's kind of like the G.I. Joe cartoon. Like, I really liked G.I. Joe when I was a kid. And then I've rewatched it as an adult, and it's like, the animation's pretty cool, and... But the storylines are, like, way slower than I remembered them, you know? I don't know if that makes sense. Whereas if I watch like Batman the Animated Series again, it feels like it holds up. I don't know if that makes sense. Like it's like the story, the writing is much better. All right. Still kind of peeking. You might see it kind of blink a little bit because it's like I'm literally scrolling through the JPEGs of each page just to, you know, so that I can quickly find a scene. Right now I'm on page 68. You guys kind of can't see it, but I'm scrolling through trying to find a previous scene that took place on this patio so I can be consistent with the colors. I might be too late in the book because I feel like it might have been earlier on where I had a scene where they're sitting together. It's like her and Robert are sitting together on the patio. Okay, page 76 is much later on the patio, but I think there's one even earlier. Going through the ocean voyage pages. It's crazy to look at like page 29, you know, because we're so far ahead. There it is. Okay, it's page 29. It is page 29. Okay, I found it. So I'm going to open page 29. Oh, I forgot about Gravity Falls is great too. My son got really into that show, but it's a really good show for like animated shows. Corey and my kid got me into that. Because I think Corey's kids were into it when they were little, and then my kid got into it as well. All right, here we go. I'm gonna turn off the rendering, and there's our crazy reference for the patio. Woohoo! Dylan said, how many pages did you get in Omer break? I'm guessing like 30 or 40. It's hard to kind of remember. Okay, guys, I'm gonna put on a trailer. I'll be right back. I'm gonna play. I know we've already played it a couple times, but we're gonna play it again. The Kemble Files, a beautiful animation by Jim Lujan, and I'll be right back.
Well, Mr. Stryker, I have you now. There is no escape. You will tell me where the Kemble Files are, or you will die beneath the crushing electric arms of my Shocktopus.
I hear you chirping, little birdie, but JT Stryker ain't no stool pigeon.
Very well. You have left me no choice. Bring out the doctor. Say hello to Dr. Hodges. I'm sure you're familiar with the doctor and his work.
If by work you mean the murder and torture of innocents, yeah, I'm familiar.
I've waited a long time for this moment, Stryker. I'm going to enjoy every minute of it.
That's what your mother said.
Well, that's a horrible thing to say. You don't even know my mother.
Don't let him interrupt you. Come on, man.
Look, fellas, we can tango here all night, but it doesn't change a thing. You're never getting the Kemble Files.
Oh, I beg to differ, Stryker. I have certain negotiation methods.
Your mom has negotiation methods.
Stop it. That didn't even make sense. That's not even... It's not applicable.
Listen up, compadres, and listen good. Option 1, I'm giving you 2 bozos and out. You untie me, I walk out of here, and everybody goes home happy. Option 2, I kill everyone in this room and then...
You idiot! You killed him!
I felt triggered. I've been learning to stand up to bullies. I just read 2 stories. Joshua Kemble's raw, introspective graphic novel chronicling mental health, faith, and the struggle for redemption. I also read Jacob's Apartment, a coming-of-age graphic novel about faith, love, and post-college existential drama. They've changed my life choices.
I'm sorry. I had no idea. I too am a fan of the books of the Joshua Kemble. But I'm still going to have to kill you.
Kill me with kindness?
All right, guys, we are quickly advancing through coloring page 159 of not two stories, of Not Death But Love, the strange supernatural story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning. And while I'm playing this, I think it's about time I play you guys a little sample of some music. So yesterday I was really stoked to get the master back for the third song on the album that I'm currently recording. So what I'll do is play you guys a little sneak peek of said music. So let's start with song 3. I'll play you songs 1, 2, and 3. Let's play them in order. So I'm going to play you song 1 first, I think, and then we'll play you song 2 and 3. And then after that, I will play you the just the music track alone for the 4th song that I finished the music to today. It's not mastered yet, and I haven't added vocals to it. So this is the first song from that album. Let me put up the volume. Let me pump up the volume here for you who are listening. That was, at first that sounded kind of Arnoldish. I was kind of proud, and then it fell apart at the end. Okay, here is track 1 as a preview.
Out of millions of people, we're a dot in the data. The landscape is filled with populations and stratas. But you're more than number to me. You are the best of compilation on an album, yeah, mix of all the best songs that were written out of millions of people. I'm a dot in the data. The fact you found me among them makes me feel like it matters. Fractal patterns, lenses, shatter, tactile caverns, nothing matters. If I could see the light in the road before we explode and erase like smoke. Wish I could see the light in the road before we explode. If there's billions of dots, then we're 1 in a million. In constellations, an army full of civilians. Yeah, we're more than a number collectively. We are the best of compilation on an album, yeah, mix of all the best songs that were written out of millions of people. I'm a dot in the data. The fact you found me among them makes me feel like it matters. Don't wanna go it alone. 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 Fractal patterns, lenses, shatter, tactile caverns, nothing
right, so that's track 1. It's it's like it's a work in progress. Paul is joining us. Hey, Paul, how's it going? He said, I'm taking a break from my first animated Joshua Kemble promo. Dude, I am so excited about it. Paul sent me a script, just like for what he wants to do for an animated promo. And I'm so excited. Again, I'm not quite sure what I've done in life to have amazing animators just make like unique animations just to like play on commercial breaks during my stream. It's kind of amazing. And Paul is an amazing animator. He's also a really amazing cartoonist. You guys should check out his Detective Perez series. It is such a good series of graphic novels. But yeah, Paul is cooking up a promo, which I'm pretty excited about. Paul said that's a work in progress. Yeah. So that's one of my songs for the next album, and then I'm gonna play track 2 right now. But let's see. Corey also said if you like Gravity Falls, you need to watch Over the Garden Wall. It is fantastic. Is it related to? Is it the same people who do Gravity Falls? Because I really enjoyed Gravity Falls quite a bit. My son really likes it too. He's very obsessed with now I'm blanking out on the character's name, and he'll probably be really upset, but it's like the little triangle guy. What's the triangle guy's name? You'll know this if you know. Paul was also asking, is it Over the Garden Wall? Is that a movie? Yeah, let me know. I'm gonna play track 2 now, and then we're gonna just keep slamming through the these thumbnails. I'm excited about how it's coming out so far. So let's go ahead and play that next. He said it's a TV show unrelated to Gravity Falls. Okay, is it just kind of similar vibes? And then where do you watch it? Is it on like Netflix, or I'd love to hear. Okay, I'm gonna play track 2, and then I'll debut track 3, the master that I got last night after this. And then I will give you guys a little sneak peek at some music that I haven't tracked vocals for, which will probably end up being track 4 on the next solo album. So here's track 2.
Soil above until the sun sets on us all, carried over shoulders laden with the weight of the continued side fossils and relics we'll strive to read. Who's honest on the soil above until the sun sets on us all. History, it repeats. History repeats. Side fossils and relics we'll strive to read. Who's honest on the soil above until the sun sits on us all. Buried under soil and dirt so deep, it's looking excavated, forgotten bones and souls that feed the worms and flowers. So who's honest on the soil above until the sun sets on us all? History, it repeats. History repeats.
All right, so that's track 2, and if you guys are curious too, like on that, basically, thanks to Jim Lujan, actually, my first solo album, I did like a cajon or whatever, like, which is like a, like a little box where you like can play like percussion and stuff on it. And I'm not the best drummer, so like some of the beats were a little off. And Jim kept bugging me and was like, "Why don't you just use a drum machine?" And I think it was a kind way of just kind of being like, your songs sound really good, but like the drums sound really like not so great. But in like a kind, friendly way. So anyhow, I took Jim's advice and I started messing with like programming drums for my songs, and then everything else is like a legit, like non-digital kind of instrument. Like, so I'll play, bass, I'll play varied electric guitars, and then quite often I'll do like a keyboard or a MIDI keyboard as well, just to kind of add layers and stuff, and then all the vocals. So all the music's made by me, but I use, like a drum machine as like a placeholder. And then we actually have taken that and used that with No Saboteurs too. So when when I'm working on No Saboteurs albums, with my buddy, we'll write songs too, like with a drum track, and then we'll eventually have Jake, our drummer, come and track actual drums, come up with his own parts over basically songs that are completely finished. So like that advice was mind-blowingly helpful coming from a friend, Jim. And I think it's a testament to show you, like, as an artist and a creative, quite often when people give you like valuable feedback, it can lead to really cool things. That kind of unlocked a lot for me, being able to do that. And I don't know why I was so hesitant about it, because I knew how to like program drums and stuff, but like I just for some reason wanted everything to be, like actual like raw instruments. And Jim, I think, helped me get over that kind of hang up, and I think I'm the better for it. So that's the 2 songs you guys have probably heard already. Okay, I think Corey has chimed in with a little more information. So let's get into it. Let me catch up with chats. First, let me finish doing flats for this, and then I'm going to catch up with chats. So I'm going to finish flatting the floor here, and then I want to kind of catch up on the more information that's been provided about Over the Garden Wall, which sounds really interesting. The title's great. Do you ever like hear like a title like that and just go, man, coming up, you know what, that is actually a gift that I think Jim has with cartoons. Whenever Jim comes up with his next thing, his titles are always like super intriguing and hilarious, and kind of make you want to know more about, the thing. But Over the Garden Wall, that's a good title. It just sounds intriguing. Okay, let's get into it. So let's see here. Let me go way back. This is okay. So, Yeah, Corey was saying it's a TV show that's unrelated to Gravity Falls. Paul asked if you watch it on reel-to-reel film machine. I love that. Dylan said, Paul, it was a mini series, but I think now it's streamed. It turned into a full-length movie, I think. And he said it was on Disney Plus. Okay, cool. I have Disney Plus, so maybe I'll check it out. Paul said, I'll watch it tonight. And then Corey said, it's completely different vibes, but I've never met anybody who watched both and didn't enjoy Over the Garden Wall. And it's weird and creepy and occasionally silly and serious. We listen to songs from that show on road trips. Okay. So there's music in it too. Interesting. And then Dylan was saying he hopes Paul enjoys it. Corey wants to know Paul's take on it too, and that his students turned him on to it. That's cool. That's one of the fun things about teaching is like quite often, like, you know, students will let you know about like pretty amazing stuff where you're like, wow, I'd never heard of this. I think that's half the fun of teaching is, I mean, teachers will always tell you this, but when you're an art teacher, you find out, you learn a lot from your students. I've definitely had times where I do things a certain way, and then a student will do it a different way that's more efficient. And I'm like, wow, I just learned something that's going to save me a bunch of time. That's one of the fun things about teaching is like what you actually get educated from your students as well. It's really cool. Paul said, if it isn't good, I'm going to be looking for you guys. So be careful, guys. Paul's after you if it's not good. And then Corey was saying, Paul was also saying that he didn't like Napoleon Dynamite. What? Come on. Napoleon Dynamite's classic. Let's see here. Oh, and then Dylan was asking what's going to happen when you find us. Corey was saying really different than Napoleon Dynamite, but definitely a weird vibe. You might hate it in the wrong mood. Expect a slow burn, uncomfortable oddness. Okay. And then Dylan was saying I'd suggest watching a video essay about its themes and creation. Okay, for Over the Garden Wall. And then and then Paul's saying when he finds you, he's going to draw you and draw you hard. I liked that. I like drawing threats. It's like, don't make me draw you, man. I'll draw you good. All right, I'm going to play, that sounds really cool, though. I'm going to have to check that out. Oh, there's another series that people have been telling me about that supposedly, I think it's on Netflix. It's like an anime that has to do with a cult of people who worships a swirl, like a spiral. And I've seen art from it that looks insane, where it has like somebody's like head, like has a hole in it that's like a spiral with like an eyeball sitting in it. And if you guys know what that's called, let me know, because I've had that recommended to me like multiple times and I've never watched it. It's like a horror cartoon, but if you've heard of it, let me know. Okay, I'm gonna play the third song. So this is the one that I got the master for last night when I finished my stream, and I haven't played it for anyone yet. So here it is. I'm really proud of this one.
With capital, heading to the capital.
I got dogs going crazy because there's some kind of delivery or something. They want you to know. My dogs want you guys to know there is someone, there is an Amazon package. Oh, there we go. Gary was saying, I think you mean Uzumaki by Junji. Uzumaki by Junji. Okay. That one just looks insane and kind of cool. Just the art I've seen from it looks like stunning. So at some point when I'm not working on, you know, school or lesson plans or the graphic novel, or sleeping, I will try to make time to, like, maybe I'll have that running in the background. Maybe I'll have that running in the background while I work on penciling the next page, you know? But yeah, that just looks really cool. Like, just the art from that looked really cool. Paul was saying, I like track 2. The distorted guitars appeal to me. A bit of funky bass in there too. Yeah, I've been trying to push myself on bass. Cause like, I don't know. It's like, bass is fun. Like, I am not I'm not a bad bassist. I'm not a great bassist though. Like, really good bassists can do like slap and they don't play with a pick. So like, to like legit bassists, I think they'd be rolling in their grave because I play bass with a pick. But I am kind of surprised when you push yourself on bass, to like kind of push scales and stuff, just how hard and awesome a bass guitar can sound. And then this album, I've been messing a lot with adding like a big muff or like a, like, you know, some distortion to the bass. So it drives the bass a little bit more, and trying to differ the bass lines a little bit and, be better at like following the kick drum too. So I feel like I'm getting better at bass, but bass is a fun instrument. Like, guitar, like, for me, I love guitar. It's my favorite thing in the world. I'm not a shredder on guitar at all. But like guitar, when I push myself on guitar, it gets real stressful. But there's something about bass that just feels real, just easy and chill. Like, I just love playing bass. But again, it's probably because at heart I'm a guitarist, so I'm less picky about how my bass comes out. I'm like, yeah, that sounds fine, you know. I don't know if you guys, those of you who play music, have a similar thing, but I respect the heck out of like amazing bassists. Let's see here. Paul was saying you need to make time to watch stupid cat videos too. I am definitely down to watch stupid cat videos. Although I have to say, my wife, the other day I was like working on my comic. I think I was streaming too while I was working on my comic because that's what I do. And I went into the living room and my wife was like deep into watching this amazing documentary about a manatee. And it was like they had rehabilitated this manatee and they were like re-releasing it into the wild. And I was like, this is the best. Like, there's a reason that I am married to my wife. And one of them is we both have a shared love of hippos, manatees, and elephant seals. They're just magical creatures. So anyhow, there you go. So I'm more likely than watching silly cat videos. I'm more likely to watch dog-related stuff or manatee-related stuff. But my wife definitely gives me a good fill of silly dog videos. There's a lot of really sweet dog videos. Paul was saying, I have a super pleb question. What instruments were in track 1? So track 1 I tracked with my my Schecter 7-string, which is like one of my guitars. And then all of my bass lines on all of the tracks are tracked with a Stingray, a Sterling Stingray, which is cool. Those didn't used to exist when I was younger. Back in the day, to get like a Music Man Stingray, you would have to drop like $5,000 for like a good active bass, active pickup bass. And now you can get like a really good Sterling, which is like it's almost like their made in China version of a Music Man. And it's like an incredible bass, and usually you can get them for about like 500, 400, which is really cheap for just insanely high quality bass. So I use that for all of my bass lines. And then the second song, I tracked with my SG, with my Gibson SG. And then, oh, the drums are like I used like some old Roland drum machine kind of plugins, and then just a drum machine through GarageBand. And then I think the first song I also used keyboard synth, like an organ synth. And then the other tracks are just a lot of layers of guitars. And then the third track, I used my Firefly Rosewood Telecaster. And that's what I tracked that for guitar and stuff. So with just multiple layers of guitar, and again, just the Stingray bass, and yeah. Paul said, Kerr, you're a machine. So the second and third song, I think I tracked with my Gibson SG. So that's why, like, the cool thing about an SG, man, is like the humbuckers on a Gibson SG just sound like tough as nails when you give feedback. So it's actually the fourth track that I use my Rosewood Telecaster. So I'm going to play that right now, but that's what I tracked this morning. So the third one is the one that was mastered. This is unmastered, what I'm about to play, because there's no vocals for it yet. I'm not done with the song, but this is what I'm going to be carving away at for the next few days. So here is track 4. All right, so that's the music I've tracked for the song. Paul was saying, "Oh, so you layer your guitars? That's why it sounds like a huge band." Yeah, I usually try to limit myself to like 2 tracks of guitars, sometimes 3 at most. But I usually try to just kind of like limit myself to like the setup of an actual band. So it'd be like 2 guitars, a bass, and a drums. But I usually start with like a drum track. I'll have it at about like 50 frames or something, um, which usually ends up being about like, like 60 seconds or like almost a minute of just like one drum line. And then I'll kind of start building a verse from there, and just kind of section by section, I'll start kind of tracking out and forming a song. So that's kind of how I've been doing albums, is like just little bit at a time. Like one day I'll feel inspired to track something. I try to do, there was a good month or two where I wasn't tracking much of anything, but in general, I've been trying to do like a daily habit of music because I find that it kind of opens me up to work on art. So I'll spend about 15 minutes, during the school year. Quite often it'll be like, 15 minutes before I get to doing art. I reward myself for sitting down to do art by like doing, like 15 minutes of music. Um, and it's fun. It's like to me, music is like I feel like I think that there is a human drive to create, and it's kind of a weird one, but it's like I definitely think we have an innate. I think some people just have a drive to like create stuff, like make stuff. And again, it almost becomes like a punk rock act or something, because in the face of AI, where you could literally just type in a prompt, right, and have a almost perfect song like just write itself for you. The act of just going through and like playing guitar and like writing songs and doing the vocals, um, I think becomes like an act of creation for the sake of creation, and it's almost like art for art's sake kind of thing. I think that's super important. I think it's good for the psyche, because I noticed that at least my mental health, since I've been doing music, um, so often in the last few years, has just like it really has helped to just make music. Like it's just super rewarding and fun. Um, yeah, Dylan was saying people who got that dog in them. Yeah, and I think that also it fulfills like something in our soul. To like, I do think we as people are meant to make stuff. I don't know why, but we just like doing it. And then the thing that I also find really fun about it is, there was a scare a couple years back. You guys probably will remember it, if you've been following the stream forever, where I lost the ability to move my thumb. Like my left thumb would not close, so I couldn't make a chord. And so there were a good like 2 or 3 months where I was like, oh, I may never play music again. Like I may never play guitar again because I couldn't even hold a chord. And so the second I got a cortisone shot and my hand was working again, I was like, well, I need to write all the music I want to write, because I mean, who knows? Like I may not even be able to use my hands like at a certain point in my life. So, and then what am I going to think? Like, cuz I love playing music. It's something I sincerely just love. And it's like, what is like, you know, what am I going to say to myself if I find myself in a position where I can't use, my hand and I can't play music? What am I going to think about all the wasted time where I could have been doing this thing I love? And another thing that dawned on me from that, as corny as it is like I think that the older I get, the more I realize like people are often I think there's too many times as creatives where we think, yeah, I'll do that when, um and then we just kind of make an excuse for like the time where we're going to eventually do the thing that we love to do, but it's just the time is not now. Like it's never now. It's always, oh, when I have enough money, or when I have a more stable thing, or when I have the resources or when I have the right tools. I think I shouldn't say I should say I have caught myself. I know with music, I did that for years where I was like, I have to focus on art. I have to focus on comics. And then it's like, I have to focus on this other thing. Um, and what I found was I just was like kicking the can down the road. And like in my head, I'm like, when I retire, I'm going to just play and write music all the time. Like that kind of thinking. I think that's dangerous thinking because at the end of the day, by the time you retire, you may not be able to use your hands, you know? So I think waiting to do things you love, I think waiting is a good habit when it comes to things like waiting to spend money or waiting, like saving or being smart. Waiting for good things isn't a bad habit, but I think when it comes to creativity, I think it just is like it's a cliche for a reason that like there is no better time than now to do the thing. Cause like you're never gonna be in a better position. It's kind of like having a kid. Like when my wife and I were initially thinking about having a kid, you know, there were a couple years where we're like, okay, when we have enough money, when we have down payment for a house, when we have this, when we have that. And then we talked to a bunch of other people who had kids and they very rightly told us, like, you're never, like, if you are waiting for the perfect time to have a kid, you are never going to have a kid. And I've passed that knowledge on to other people, you know, because it's true. It's like, if you want to have kids, you're going to make it work. Like, and don't be irresponsible about it, right? Like, obviously, you know, you probably want to be able to feed them. But the weird thing about having a kid is you just find ways to make it work because you have to. But like people who want kids, like the proof of that. Oh, Paul said, "Gotta run. Love y'all." Awesome, thank you, Paul. Thanks for stopping by, my dude. I'm really excited to see your animation. But yeah, I think that we just have this tendency to like put ourselves in a waiting room for things we want, that we can do today. You know, and that to me is like more of like, for me has really affected my life in the last few years. It's one of the reasons I didn't mind kind of having a career change that is financially a little scarier or whatever, because at the end of the day, I wasn't happy being an art director. So I could have probably just interviewed and gotten another art director position somewhere else and just kind of been like, and when I'm older and when the time is right, then I'll end up doing teaching or something that I like really enjoy. It's like, no, you kind of have to like, it's like, as weird as it is, it's like waiting isn't always the best. It's not always the best thing to do because it can become an excuse and a cycle. And then you could wait too long, you know. I don't know if that makes sense. So a lot of it is very similar to like having a kid. You just at some point you just decide, you know what, screw it, I want to have a kid. We're gonna have a kid, you know, and then you make it work. Like it, and you know, it isn't easy and stuff, but it's like there's proof of this too. Like there's this misnomer that, you know, because like birth rates are down in the U.S. and there's this misnomer that the problem is that people are just too poor to have kids. And unfortunately, the stats just don't back that up. Like if you look into it, it turns out like that the biggest communities that have kids are poor people. Like weirdly enough, like really wealthy people tend to be like the people who put off having kids. And if you talk to them, they'll be like, oh, it's because, you know, we just don't have the financial means or whatever to do it. But it's like if you go like to like a third world country, there's plenty of people who are having kids and family and they're making it work with like in like the worst of conditions. So it's like it can't just be money that's the reason people aren't having kids, right? It's you know, it's like it is a thing of like you just kind of have to like if you want to have kids. I'm not saying obviously if you're watching this, don't have kids if you're young or you're not in a stable position. But I'm just saying it's like I think art and that are very similar in that way where at some point you just kind of have to bite the bullet and just go, either I'm going to do this thing when I have the resources to do it, or I'm not. Like that's it. You know, it's like there's no that was for me a really profound thing, and that's when I started like making a bunch of albums because I was like I love making music. It's a huge part of it's like a part of my life that I put on pause for a lot of years, like for almost a decade in service of like an illustration career. And it's like the thing that I didn't realize is I could have just been doing this all along. Like I had guitars, you know, I had the tools. I didn't have as easy of access to recording as I do now. But it's like, yeah, it's like if it's something you enjoy, like, at least for me, if it's something that's important to my sanity and my mental well-being, um, I need to make time for it, you know? And that time is just gonna happen. Like it's never gonna just magically appear. It's just a matter of like actually doing the thing. As corny as that is. So I'm really passionate about that because it's been a game changer for me in life where I'm like, I don't have to wait till I'm retired to like play the guitars that I have. I enjoy playing guitar. I should make time for the things I enjoy. Same with have time to exercise. But I need to exercise. So I need to make time to exercise. And I enjoy who I am when I exercise. Like I don't like feeling achy and crappy all the time. And when I exercise, I feel less achy and crappy. So I just make the time. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. Corey said, I quit a ukulele club. I started to learn to draw. No one understood. I understand that because there was a point in my life where I had split interests. This is when I was going to school. Where it made sense for me to stop doing music. Because, you know, especially when I was early in illustration, I really didn't have time I didn't have time to make, right? I had to put I had to put 110% into, excelling and succeeding at commercial art. And that worked. It broke the door down and it worked. You have to kind of be hungry. So I'm not saying like everybody should just have a million distractions and not focus on the thing they really want. But what's weird to me is once I built a career and I did have that passion still for music, I just kept it on the back shelf for like way too long. And what's funny is once I opened up that passion again, it's just like my personal happiness. Like I know it's silly, but it like kind of it stretched across to like other people too. Like I'm a better friend, I'm a better husband. Like I'm better when I do that thing than I am when I don't. You know what I mean? And so that's where I'm like, I just feel like there are some things that like you probably shouldn't wait till retirement to do that thing. You should probably like try to, you know, obviously drop everything and go, I'm going to become a rock star and like drop all your responsibilities or something. But it's like, can you spend like 15 minutes a day like doing a thing you enjoy? If it like if it makes the days better, you know, that to me is like more of the thing that was a good takeaway for me. But yeah, but Chris, I mean, not Chris, Corey. I totally get what you're saying because it's like I definitely have had, I've definitely had times in my life where I did have to, like, I couldn't have split focus. I couldn't afford to have split focus. A good point is I like painting too, but like I'm not painting right now. You know, I'm working on a comic because I can't split my focus too much. But but it is really like to me very fun to be like able to realize that you don't have to wait, you know, to do some things that you enjoy. You can do them more realistically, you know. It's like I'm not gonna, you know, I don't have the time or ability in my life right now to spend hours on, you know, music, but it's like just like 10 minutes a day is not like a horrible, impossible thing, you know, and I'll miss some days and stuff, but just realizing it's a priority I want to make was a big deal for me. It's been really fun, you know, kind of refinding that part of my identity. Yeah, anyhow, so that was a long-winded, kind of passionate rant. We finished this is cool. We have 2 panels done, and now I just have to finish these monster panels, which are going to take forever. But the fun part is, I think I talked about this, like, this trick I do with, where I'll kind of make like rewards stuff for getting through things. So right now I'm smelling this delicious pizza that my wife heated up, and I am going to finish these panels and then I'm allowed to eat. Does that make sense? I am a nut, but this will get me through. My wife called me a nut, but this will get me through the panels, and there's only 2 panels left. We're halfway through both, so we're gonna finish the colors on this thing. Was that hard though, like, Corey? Because like I'm curious if like was like ukulele like I mean I know you were working for like a music company at the time, but was ukulele like a core part to your identity? Like, did it feel like something you loved like more than like a lot of things? Like it was one of the top things that you just loved, you know? Because that's kind of the thing I'm talking about, is like things you love. You know, you can actually maintain things you love. I don't know if it was like something, was it like a hard sacrifice, or was it kind of like, because for me it was kind of like that with music initially, and I would say dropping music for a little bit was the right call. It's just I went way too long till I could pick it back up. And it is tough. Like I can understand where this can kind of feel like you know, like it could be bad advice to kind of pursue everything you love, because it is good to like target things. Like I do believe in a you know, let's do like a hypothetical, like you're at the gun range or something, and you've got 1,000,000 targets. You're less likely to hit a bullseye, right? So you definitely want, like, there is a logic to kind of like targeting your focus. And I think I do that a lot. Like, I think my friend even for it, where it's like, when I'm working on a graphic novel, like that is primarily like 100% what I am working on when I'm working on art at home. Like, I'm rarely kind of deviating and being like, you know, I feel like drawing a dinosaur today or something. You know, it's like I usually do stay pretty ultra focused, even with music, where it's like I'm carving away, but I carve it away at like an ultra focused, like single objective, which is to make like an album, right? Um, so I don't think it's bad to like target your focus, at least for me, right? This is different for each person, but I do think, at least in my life, I'm surprised that I allowed myself to convince myself to not do something I love, um, you know, when I knew full well like that I could do it. And then once I started doing it, it was just so beautiful. Like, it was just like it was like opening kind of a thing that I loved, that I had set to rest, that I probably shouldn't have set to rest. Corey was saying it wasn't a core part, but socially something significant. Giving up my first comic to get my master's was a hard sacrifice. Yeah, and there's going to be times in life where you definitely are going to have to give up things you love in favor of things that are higher priority, you know? A fair point here is like, you know, my career right now is going to take priority over even this book, you know? And this book is a priority because it's for a publisher. But my point is, if the rubber meets the road and I have to pick between spending time like on a curriculum for my class and working on my comic, like, guess what's going to take the focus? It's going to be the curriculum for my class, you know? And similarly, if I have to pick between play music today or working on the comic, I'm going to work on the comic. But it's just one of those things of like, surprisingly, like if you put in, I think if you put in the effort and you really want to do something, you're going to find a way to do the thing. You're going to find a way. Most of the time, you know? But I do understand the kind of sacrifice and stuff. It is interesting. But anyhow, for me, it's been really fun to just kind of see that open up. And have more modes of expression, because it is different than art. Like I do feel like music, it is an art, but I feel like it's a different beast. And Jim's talked about it too. Like one of the things he said he loves about animation, I think Kevin Cross too has talked about this, where he was saying why he wants to pursue animation. I think both of them were saying they like filmmaking, they like animation, they like art, and they like making music, you know. And it's like, well, what's a field where you can do all those things, you know? Um, but it is, music's a different beast, but it's definitely a part of something I love, that I would, you know, I just enjoy doing. It's like I guess it's almost like it's like a hobby, you know, but I don't treat it as a hobby, but it is like a hobby. It's like you know, it's like the car I want to work on in the garage. And like any hobby, right? Hobbies are kind of like that too, right? Like there's so many guys that are like, I bought an old car to work on and restore, and I'm going to have it in the garage. And then when I'm retired, I'm going to restore that car. And it's like, well, you could actually like spend, you know, like 15 or so minutes a day and like actually start now, you know? I don't know. It's just things of I do think there is some there's some wisdom to the idea of being like tomorrow isn't really a day. Like today is the day. You need to seize the day and kind of do the thing. You know, I don't know. I don't know if that's crazy. Guys, we've been going for like a good 3 hours. I can't believe it. I can't believe this page is taking that long. I kind of can, because it's a lot of selections. And I haven't been like 110% like quick. But I've mentioned this before on stream. Like I am not a fast artist. I'm a very slow artist. I noticed Corey said he had colored 2 pages in the time of this stream, which is amazing. But that's one of my like superpowers as an artist too, is I'm just very stubborn, and I will finish this page. Like I'm gonna work on it and finish it. I have to. And I don't know how, but we're gonna make it work. I'm gonna make this the color of the trees leaves in the kind of foreground. I'm pulling a lot of color from previous panels because I want this to be recognizable for those who are reading it. The fun part is I don't have a lot of rendering to kind of throw on this. There's a couple tricks you can do if you're doing art flats that can kind of speed up processes. One is, you know, obviously have like a rendering layer above it. The other is you can always throw textures over flat colors and make them look a lot more painterly and rendered than they actually are. That's a nice little trick as well. But it's the funny thing about the process I'm working in, I thought it might be quicker. I think doing the flats is a little quicker because I don't have to do rendering on it. But at the end of the day, I am still rendering. I just have to do the rendering with like kind of pencil. So, and then it gets overlaid over the flats. So in reality, I'm not sure if this is a faster process. Like I thought it would be, you know, when I initially came up with it. But I think like everything, in my head, it's going to be a lot faster, and then it didn't end up being that. But I do think there's value to like the you know, there's like that truism that's basically like you know, if there's a person you want to be, you can actually start being that person like today. I think there's a lot of people who will like kind of convince themselves to wait to become the person they want to be, and not just like put on the costume of that person like today and start, you know, behaving in the way they want to, you know. Um and I will say I want to be a person who's playing music because I enjoy it. that was a long-winded way of saying that. Today's a good day though. It's a Sunday. I'm making pretty good time on this page. I think I'll be finished in about 30 minutes. And then I'm gonna hopefully start penciling the next page. Maybe I'll put on some of the animations that people were recommending in the background while I work on the pencils for the next page. Want to make time to exercise today too, so what I'm probably going to do is finish this up, and then I might hit the exercise, and then from there, you know, we might kind of let me see. I'm gonna get these hills here. I also made this a purple sky for a reason. For one, it's like it's sunset. For another, she's got kind of an orangey yellow dress like Elizabeth does. And so I thought the purple would offset it really nicely, like having kind of a bit of a complement in the background. But yeah, so today I'm really excited about kind of getting this page done. It's taken a while though. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's helpful to anybody out there, but for me, it's funny how profound it was to like actually just start accepting that I'm not quite myself when I'm not making music. It's been a part of my life since I was, 14, and playing in like, little local bands and stuff. And I never, I was in one band that came real close to getting signed. We had a manager and stuff like that, but I never, it was never a career. It was never something that like blew up, like, but it was always fun to write music. Like I just enjoy it. That's like, to me, that's more fun than a video game, And I think a lot of people make time for like video games and stuff, to just play a game or something like that. And that time could be spent doing comics or doing music or whatever it is you want to do. I don't know what happened to my selection here. I think it might have frozen. I hope it didn't freeze. I think I might have had my oh no. Oh no. Okay, 159, 29, and 76. I'm gonna write that down because I think my computer just froze. Well, not my computer, but my my Photoshop, I think, just completely froze. So I have to force quit it. Hopefully I saved. I'm pretty sure I did. I usually do. 159. 29. Corey said third page colored. 76. That's awesome, Corey. I'm glad you're being productive, man. I'm glad to kind of keep you company while you're rocking. By the way, if you want to hop in here, dude, you can. I know you have the link. So, oh, it's saying save. I can save it. Hey, that's perfect. Okay. Okay. That's weird. So I need to do 159. We're going to pull that open. Yeah, Corey's been on fire lately, like with productivity. Okay, there we go. We've got 159 back. I needed, what was it? Where did I just wrote it down. And now I don't know where I put I wrote it down on a strip of paper. That is funny. And then I set it somewhere so I could remember it, and now I don't remember where I set the paper that I wrote that down. Did I like pocket it? Did I like shove it back there? I don't understand. How can I write that on a piece of paper to remember it? Okay, it was 29 and 70 something. So I'm going to just go to 29. I wrote it down to be responsible, and then I somehow misplaced it irresponsibly. So it must be 29, and this is how my brain works, guys. 29 was one of them. I think 29 might actually be the only one I need for the next sections. Yes, okay, it was 29. Good. Okay. Luckily, my memory wasn't too shot. Sometimes, if I don't write stuff down, I'll forget it, but luckily I remembered. Okay, we're getting there, guys. All I have to redo is the selection of the, of these mountains. We're actually pretty far along, though. This is going to come along pretty good and get finished. I feel like Corey's been really rocking, though. Corey, how many pages have you done for your comic now? You must be approaching 50 at least. You have to be approaching 50. Corey said, "Got a bit keeping me company." He said, "Got 3 of the 5 pages I'm working on." That's beautiful. Thanks for hopping in and listening. I don't know what just happened, but it seems like my sister-in-law sprayed herself with water somehow.
I like filling up my water cup with the sprayer,
Uh-huh.
and then she comes over and tries to like rinse her dish off and gets sprayed.
Oh, because she didn't turn the sprayer off.
Turn the setting back to the other one before you use it. And I was like, I'll try to remember.
That is hilarious. So what happened is my wife would turn the sink on like the spray setting, and then she doesn't turn it off, and then my sister-in-law would think that she was just turning on a regular sink and it's on the spray setting, so it would just splash all over, which is hilarious. That all just happened. Corey said he would have had a lot more done if he wasn't fighting for his peace this semester. Yeah, but you're making good progress, man. It's cool that, it's like, honestly, you're doing the thing that I was just talking about. It's like you just kind of find the time. And stuff will come up that gets in your way. That's inevitable. But I think just kind of staying in the fight. And honestly, that's going to keep you centered, probably, getting those done, right? Because if you're like, fighting for peace at your work, and then you're also like not able to like work on your comic, I think that probably would make you less happy, It's fun to make stuff is my point. We're just going through and just kind of I'm just gonna deselect different at this point it's kind of a randomness kind of game, so I'm gonna deselect some of these hill type things and then try to stay consistent with the ones I'm deselecting. This is a big chunk of hill. All right. Do the same here. At some point in life, I think it would be fun to write a children's book too, or work on like a all ages property. There's a couple like kinds of comics that I would like to eventually do. One of them on my list, for oddly enough, was doing a historical fiction. So during 2 Stories, I think I talked about that a lot while I was working on 2 Stories, where I wanted to work on a historical fiction. And so the cool thing about doing this is that crosses that off the list. But there's a bunch of different genres that I think would be really fun to do. And one of them is I do think it would be fun to do an all ages thing. I think it would be really fun and rewarding to do like a comedy for sure. I've been doing a lot of very serious like dramas, and I think doing something funny would be fun. This is the fun of comics, though. The fun of music and comics is kind of similar in that sense, where you want to try things. Where you're like, man, I haven't tried this kind of thing before, and so you can kind of dip into that pool for a little bit and see what happens and what that inspires. Let me see if I can remember which ones I did here. There's the big one. Okay, so we got the big one here. And then we've got some of these little guys, and I think I alternated. So we did like do. All right, we're getting there. Okay, now I'm gonna do another shade of green. Let's do like the lighter one. Just to have some like alternating between the greens here. Man, I'm getting like running out of memory kind of notices. That is wild. My computer is so old. So what I might do is I might save if I can and then kind of reopen this again. But yeah, my computer's been not happy lately. So let's try to do, if I can do just magenta. If it'll let me. And then I'm going to kind of close this out. I think I'll save what I've got if it'll let me. Will it let me? Yes. Okay. And then I'm going to reopen pages 154 and 29 to try to cheat my computer out of memory. Yeah, it's just one of those things where my computer's kind of an older one now. I don't know if you guys have been seeing anything I've been doing, because it looks like it had 29 open, but not the one I'm working on. So let me make sure that's pulled up too as we kind of get through this. Okay, let's open both and see what happens. Okay. Really not a fan of this this warning coming up all the time. Okay, let's view extras. Let's turn that off. Let's go to layers and kind of select. Can you guys see this? I hope so. And we're kind of wrapping up the page. So I'm trying to get all my greens filled out. All my tasty greens here. So we have that lighter green that I was gonna start filling in colors with, to kind of fill in. All right. And I'm just gonna weave and try to kind of pick different selections. So here we're gonna do this big chunk, and then I'm gonna do above. Okay, it's below. Big chunk here. My computer is really lagging, guys. I might have to take a break soon because it's just really like not happy with the amount of processing that I'm doing right now. So it's like very laggy. But we might be able to get through some stuff. I want to get a little bit further if possible. You guys can't see the thing that keeps showing up where it's just saying the system's run out of application memory. But we're gonna try. We're gonna try to get further. I think I might need to mess with my application memory settings or something on Photoshop. Like maybe it's using too much processing power, or like the problem is like Photoshop had an update that was for a modern OS that my computer literally cannot update to. And so it's like it's using processing power that this computer just does not have. Okay. None of which is very interesting. I apologize if that's kind of boring. Trying to kind of deselect some of these things. It's taken ages to kind of get through here, but we're going to get through it. It'd be so sad if it's like right at the, like right towards the end where we're almost done to like have to kind of call it. I'm hoping not. Okay. I'm going to do some deselections here. If I can. Okay, here we go. There's just one little tree I want to deselect here. Okay. We did the tree. Okay. I'm going to save. I'm going to pick another color. And this time let's pick one of these alternating colors. Let's do the dark. I don't know if I did a lot of the dark. So now I'm going to do this for the remaining greens. If you guys are watching this or have been enjoying it, I would encourage you guys to just hit the like button. Don't smash it. We talked about that last night on stream. You could break your keyboard or your fingers, but just hit it, you know, tap it. Gently press that like button. But it does help. If you do, like, you know, if you hit like on the stream, it does help us find more people. Gets more people involved in our community. I am literally seeing the pinwheel of death right now. Which is no fun. Oh man. Yeah. Yeah, my computer not happy. Not happy. Not a happy computer. So this may be the end of the stream just because my computer is not happy about processing anything right now. But I feel like I can possibly, maybe I can force it. Oh, how frustrating. You guys can't see it, but right now I'm seeing pinwheels. Let's keep going. I might have to break and just kind of call it, guys, because I'm seeing pinwheels. Photoshop is not responding. I'm getting the notification that I've run out of application memory. That's very frustrating. So I'm gonna just force quit out, and we're gonna call it. I will finish these colors probably later, but I'm gonna just have to call this stream because my computer just told me it's too late. I will get a newer computer at some point in my life. I appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. Thanks for hanging in there. I will finish these colors probably off stream, and I will probably be streaming again tomorrow. So if you haven't yet, hit the bell so you get notifications when I'm about to go live. Thanks for the lively chat for everybody who came in and out today. It was a fun one. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you on the next live stream. Goodbye.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to crumble!
I'm Joshua Kemble, and welcome to Joshua Kemble's live stream. I've been a freelance illustrator and graphic designer for over 20 years. I was an art director for 9 years. And when I'm not art directing and working on illustrations and graphic designs, I'm working on comic books and graphic novels, and that's usually what I do during my streams. And while conversations can go all over the place on this stream, from spicy and entertaining to goofy and silly, one thing stays consistent throughout every stream. I'll always be working on art. So pull up a chair, get your art supplies out, and get ready for an entertaining show that'll keep you company while you work on your own personal art projects. This is Joshua Kemble's Art Stream.